Facebook page. And today's session invited by MD Atiqur Rahman sir, as I was saying. During the session, all of the participants are requested to keep their microphones off. If you have any questions in your mind, please put it down into the chat box. We will take it to our honorable speaker. A feedback form will given into the chat box after a while to record your experience at this event. So at this moment, I am going to our honorable speaker, MD Atiqur Rahman sir, to take over this session. Sir, please.
থ্যাংক ইউ ধন্যবাদ সবাইকে। আমি ধরে নিচ্ছি যে নন সবাই বাংলা স্পিকিং এখানে। যদি অন্য কেউ থাকে বাংলা বুঝে না, প্লিজ শাউট দেন আই উইল স্পিক ইন ইংলিশ, আদারওয়াইজ বাংলা ইংরেজি মিলিয়ে বলতে চাই আর কি। সো টুডেজ টপিক আমরা যেটা বলেছি যে ফিউ রিসার্চ টপিকস অ্যান্ড এক্সাম্পলস অন কম্পিউটার ভিশন অ্যান্ড আইওটি। আসলে কম্পিউটার ভিশন অসম্ভব ব্রড একটা টপিক, আইওটি অ্যানাদার ভেরি ব্রড টপিক। সো সেখানে অনেক কিছু বলা খুব ডিফিকাল্ট। তো আমি আমার কিছু কাজের এক্সাম্পলস দিব এবং রিলেটেড কিছু কাজের কথা বলবো, যেখান থেকে হয়তো আমরা কিছুটা আইডিয়া পেতে পারি যে কি কি কাজ আমরা করতে পারি। আর মোস্ট অফ দ্য টাস্ক আমি বেসিক্যালি বলার চেষ্টা করব বেসড অন আওয়ার রিয়ালিটি ইন বাংলাদেশ অথবা ডেভেলপিং কান্ট্রিতে, যেখানে রিসার্চ ইনফ্রাস্ট্রাকচার যেখানে দুর্বল, ফান্ডিং এর অবস্থা যেখানে খুবই খারাপ, সেই জায়গায় আমরা কি কি কাজ করতে পারি তার কিছু নমুনা এখানে দেখানোর চেষ্টা করব আর কি। যেহেতু সময় খুব বেশি না, এই জাতীয় টক গুলো কয়েক ঘন্টা আলোচনা করা উচিত এবং ব্রেনস্টর্মিং হওয়া উচিত, কিন্তু আমরা চেষ্টা করব যে ম্যাক্সিমাম 1.5 আওয়ার্স এর মধ্যে আমি সবকিছু শেষ করতে। দেন আমরা একটা ব্রেক নিতে পারি 5 মিনিটের, দেন দরকার লাগবে যতক্ষণই লাগবে আমরা কিউএ সেশন কন্টিনিউ করব। আমার ভয়েস তো পরিষ্কার, আই হোপ। তো আমার নাম হচ্ছে মোহাম্মদ আতিকুর রহমান আহাদ। আমি রিসেন্টলি জাস্ট লাস্ট উইক সম্ভবত আমি অপটিক্যাল সোসাইটি অফ আমেরিকা, যেটা বা দি অপটিক্যাল সোসাইটি এখন, এটার সিনিয়র মেম্বার হয়েছি। আর IEEE সিনিয়র মেম্বার। এগুলা হওয়া কঠিন কিছু না, বাট মানে জাস্ট একটা প্রসেস আর কি। তা যেহেতু হয়েছে এই জন্য শেয়ার করলাম। দেন হচ্ছে যে আমি ঢাকা ইউনিভার্সিটি ঢাকা ইউনিভার্সিটি যেটা বলি, ঢাকা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়, সেখানে কর্মরত। প্রায় 3 বছর হয়ে গেল। আসছিলাম 2 বছরের জন্য, কিন্তু করোনা আসলো এবং পারিবারিক কিছু কারণে বাধ্য হয়ে এখন ওসাকা ইউনিভার্সিটিতে এখনো আছি। তো আমার কাজকর্ম বা বিস্তারিত জানতে হলে ahadvisionlab.com আপনারা ভিজিট করতে পারেন, অথবা পার্সোনালি আমাকে ইমেল করতে পারেন। ইমেলে রিপ্লাই অনেক সময় সঠিক সময়ে দেওয়া ডিফিকাল্ট হয়, তখনও তারপর পরে রিমাইন্ডার দিলে আই উইল ট্রাই টু রিপ্লাই। তো আইডিয়ার কথা আমরা বললি, রিসার্চের আইডিয়া, কিন্তু আসলে রিসার্চের আইডিয়া জন্য প্রচুর ব্রেন স্টর্মিং দরকার, প্রচুর থিঙ্কিং দরকার, এবং লার্নিং ফ্রম আদার ওয়ার্কস, লাইক আই মিন ফ্রম দ্য স্টেট অফ দ্য আর্টস, টপ কাজ থেকে আমরা দেখবো যে আসলে ওরা কি কাজ করছে, তার উপর বেস করে আমরা চিন্তা করব। এবং প্রচুর পরিমাণে ব্রেন স্টর্মিং দরকার। একটা কাজ টুপ করে করে ফেলা উচিত না। বিয়ে শাদীর ক্ষেত্রে যেরকম গার্জিয়ানরা অনেকে মত প্রকাশ করে, এতে খারাপই হয় অনেক ক্ষেত্রে, যে বিয়ে খালি ডিলে হয়, বিয়ে হয় না। কারণ হচ্ছে যে একজন সবাই ঠিক আছে, একজন একটা ভ্যাটও দিয়ে দিল, তখন দেখা যাচ্ছে যে এক সমস্যা হয়ে যায়। তো এই জন্য ওইসব জায়গায় কম ব্রেন স্টর্মিং করা ভালো, কিন্তু রিসার্চের ক্ষেত্রে ব্রেন স্টর্মিং হওয়াটা দরকার। এবং গতকালই একজন বড় প্রফেসর, উনি হচ্ছেন নটিংহাম ট্রেন্ট ইউনিভার্সিটি, প্রফেসর ব্রাউন, উনি একটা কথা বলছিলেন, সেটা হলো গিয়ে যে মানে আমি একটা প্রশ্ন করেছিলাম ওনার কিনোটের পরে, ওর পরিপ্রেক্ষিতে যেটা বললেন সেটা হচ্ছে গিয়ে যে আমাদের কোনো একটা কাজের স্টেক হোল্ডার কারা। যেমন আমি যদি বলি যে এখন অটিজম নিয়ে কাজ করতে চাই, তো অটিজমের জন্য অটিস্টিক চিলড্রেন একটা স্টেক হোল্ডার, তাদের প্যারেন্টস, যেই স্কুলে পড়ে সেই স্কুলের টিচার্স অথবা এটা, এবং অবশ্যই রাষ্ট্রের যদি কোনো প্রতিষ্ঠান থাকে অটিজম রিলেটেড বা এগুলোর সাথে জড়িত, দেন হচ্ছে ডক্টরস অ্যান্ড সাইকোলজিস্ট, রিসার্চার্স অ্যান্ড এন্টারপ্রেনার্স অ্যান্ড সো অন। সুতরাং বলতেছে যে যে কাজের জন্যই ওই স্টেক হোল্ডারদেরকে সাথে প্রচুর পরিমাণে ডিসকাস করে জানা যে আসলে ওরা মানে মানে কি বলতে চাচ্ছে। আমি যদি আরো ক্লিয়ারলি অ্যান্সারটা বলি, খুঁজে বের করলাম যে গ্যাদার দেয়ার রিকোয়ারমেন্টস, এবং নো দেম অ্যান্ড অ্যাজ মাচ অ্যাজ পসিবল, তাদের তাদের রিকোয়ারমেন্টস গুলো জানা দরকার। সেটা কিন্তু ব্রেন স্টর্মিং ছাড়া হবে না, এবং এক্সিস্টিং কি কি রিসার্চ হচ্ছে তা ছাড়াও হবে না। ফলে আপনারা যে কোনো লাইনে কাজ করুন না কেন, আপনাকে সেই ধারায় যেতে হবে। দ্বিতীয় পয়েন্ট হচ্ছে যে নলেজ বেসড কাজ করতে হবে, ইমোশনাল নয়। need much collaboration works among various disciplines, which is very important. ভালো কাজের জন্য এটা প্রয়োজন। ইন্ডাস্ট্রি অথবা প্রাইভেট এবং একাডেমিয়া, গভর্নমেন্ট, স্টেক হোল্ডার্স, এগুলোর সাথে একটা রিলেশনশিপ দরকার। অ্যান্ড নিড রিয়েল, আমরা তো এখন এআই প্রচুর বলি, আর্টিফিশিয়াল ইন্টেলিজেন্স, তো এই আইটা রিয়েল আই দরকার, অর্থাৎ নর্মাল অ্যান্ড স্ট্যান্ডার্ড ইন্টেলিজেন্সটা আনয়ন করতে হবে। তা মানুষের বুদ্ধি কিন্তু আসমান থেকে সবকিছু চলে আসে না। ইয়েস, বাই বর্ন কেউ আইনস্টাইন বা নিউটন এই টাইপের লোকজন হয়, কিন্তু সাধারণ মানুষ আমরা যারা এখানে যারা পার্টিসিপেন্টস, আমি ধরে নিচ্ছি যে সবাই সাধারণ মানুষ, আমরা আমি সহ, তো আদারওয়াইজ আমরা এই আলোচনায় আসতাম না। তো এখন যেটা সেটা হচ্ছে গিয়ে যে নর্মাল বা স্ট্যান্ডার্ড ইন্টেলিজেন্স, আচ্ছা কেউ কথা বলছিলেন এটা কি এই জন্য যে মানে বিদেশি কেউ, আমি আবারও বলছি, if anyone is non-Bangla speaking person here, participants, please let me know. On that case, I'll speak in English. All right. সো এই জন্য আমাদের যেটা দরকার যে স্ট্যান্ডার্ড বা নর্মাল ইন্টেলিজেন্স, এইটা কিন্তু এমনি এমনি আসবে না, এর জন্য পরিশ্রম করতে হবে, পড়তে হবে, জানতে হবে, শিখতে হবে, সময় দিতে হবে। হ্যাঁ, তো এই জন্য আগে দরকার রিয়েল আই, দেন হচ্ছে আমরা কাজ করব সেই রিয়েল আই দিয়ে এআই। সুতরাং এটা মাথায় রাখতে হবে। তো that's why we must read to grow authentically, আমরা যাতে নলেজ বেসড ভাবে আগাতে পারি। আমরা দুর্বল কান্ট্রি এই জন্যই যেহেতু আমরা টেকনোলজিক্যালি এবং নলেজ বেসড আমরা দুর্বল। জাস্ট বলার জন্য যে আমি জানি যে কলকাতা থেকে কিছু পার্টিসিপেন্টস আছেন, তো সেই জন্য আমি ঢাকা ইউনিভার্সিটিতে আছি, এটা হচ্ছে ঢাকা ইউনিভার্সিটি কার্জন হল এবং অন্যান্য বিল্ডিং, এটা হচ্ছে কেমিস্ট্রি ডিপার্টমেন্ট, মাইক্রোবায়োলজি অথবা ফার্মেসি অ্যান্ড সো মেনি আদার ডিপার্টমেন্টস অ্যারাউন্ড। এটা হচ্ছে ওসাকা ইউনিভার্সিটির কিছু, ঢাকা ইউনিভার্সিটির মতো এরকম সুন্দর না, বাট ইটস ওকে। মেইন সোর্সেস, আমি আজকে যে টক দিব তার মেইন সোর্স হচ্ছে আমার কতগুলো বই। লাকিলি আমি কিছু এফোর্টস দিয়েছিলাম, তার উপর বেস করে কিছু বই পাবলিশ করেছিলাম, কিছু এডিটেড বুক আছে। তো এখানে সেগুলো আছে, আমার ব্যক্তিগত ওয়েবসাইটে আছে, আপনারা কিছু জিনিস ফ্রি হতে পড়তে পারবেন। শুরুতে আমি বলে নেই যে আজকে সবাই যারা এসেছেন, আমার ধারণা মেজরিটি অথবা অলমোস্ট অল আপনারা ইয়াং রিসার্চার্স। সুতরাং ইয়াং রিসার্চারদের জন্য একটা কথা, কারণ অনেকে আছে যে টায়ার্ড হয়ে যায় পরে চলে যায়, এই জন্য শেষের কথা আগে বলি। সিলেক্ট এ টপিক হোয়ার ইউ ক্যান ওয়ার্ক, ইন্ট্রোডিউস এক্সিলেন্ট ডাটা সেটস উইথ প্রপার ইথিক্যাল ক্লিয়ারেন্স। কিন্তু আমার একটা স্লাইড আছে পরে দেখাবো, যদি ওই লাইনে ডাটা সেট থাকে তাহলে দরকার নাই, খুঁজে বের করতে হবে কোথায় নাই। আমাদের রিসার্চারদের কাজ হচ্ছে গ্যাপ বের করে সেই গ্যাপ ফিল আপ করার চেষ্টা করা, দুর্বলতা বের করে সেই দুর্বলতাগুলো সমাধান করার চেষ্টা করা। কেউ জিজ্ঞেস করতে পারে, আমি নিজেকে জিজ্ঞেস করি হোয়াট দ্য হেল আই ডিড, আমি তেমন কিছু করতে পারিনি, কারণ হচ্ছে যে আমি আসলে সেই লেভেলের পরিশ্রম বা সময় যখন দেওয়ার কথা তখন দিতে পারিনি বা দেই নাই, বা প্রায়োরিটি দিতে পারি না ইন লাইফ। এই জন্য বলছি যারা ইয়াঙ্গার হিয়ার, আপনারা গিভ প্রপার প্রায়োরিটি ইন লাইফ অন নলেজ অ্যান্ড রিসার্চ। তখন দেখা যাবে যে আফটার 10-20 ইয়ার্স আপনারা অনেক বড় ভালো কাজ করতে পারবেন। এবং রিসার্চার হওয়ার জন্য সিজিপিএ, মানে যাদের খারাপ হয়ে গেছে তাদের আর ওইটা নিয়ে চিন্তা করার দরকার নাই, ইউ স্টার্ট ফ্রম টুডে। আর যাদের সিজিপি এখনো ভালো করার সম্ভাবনা আছে তারা সিজিপিও ভালো করবেন, আবার ভালো গবেষকও হবেন, বিকজ এভরিথিং ম্যাটার্স এট দ্য এন্ড, মোর অর লেস। কিন্তু কেউ যদি ভালো পাবলিকেশন করে ভালো রিসার্চার হয়, তাহলে তার ডিমান্ড মাচ বেটার দেন সিজিপিএ অর জিআরই অথবা অন্য স্কোর। এটা বললাম। হেলথ কেয়ার অ্যাপ্লিকেশনস এখন প্রচুর ইম্পর্টেন্ট, স্পেশালি করোনা আসার পরে আমরা দেখলাম যে রিমোট মনিটরিং, রিমোট হেলথ কেয়ার, এই টাইপের জিনিসগুলোর বা আইওটি সেন্সর বেসড অথবা ভিশন বেসড, এগুলো খুবই গুরুত্বপূর্ণ হয়ে দাঁড়িয়েছে। এটা আমরা অনেকেই বুঝি, আমরা আমাদের পরিবারে অনেকে আছে যাদেরকে হাসপাতালে পাঠাতে চাচ্ছি না, পারছিও না। কিন্তু আমরা যদি হেলথ কেয়ারে কিছু ডাটা কালেক্ট করে আইওটি সেন্সর দিয়ে অথবা মেশিন লার্নিং দিয়ে অ্যানালাইসিস করে, অর ইভেন ইমেজ প্রসেসিং এর মাধ্যমে বা কম্পিউটার ভিশন সিস্টেমের মাধ্যমে কাজ করতে পারতাম, তাহলে কিন্তু অনেক দূর আগাতে পারতাম। দেয়ার আর সাম ওয়ার্কস, বাট সবগুলোই হচ্ছে সবগুলো না, মেজরিটি অফ দোজ ওয়ার্কস আর খেলনা টাইপের, অর্থাৎ খুবই প্রফেশনাল ওয়েতে ডক্টরদেরকে কনভিন্স করার মতো না। কারণ ডাক্তারদের কিন্তু জীবন মরণ নিয়ে হ্যান্ডেল করতে হয়। আপনাদের পরিচিত কোনো ডাক্তার থাকলে দেখবেন উনারা কিন্তু সহজেই এইসব ক্যামেরা দিয়ে কিছু একটা করবে অথবা আইওটি সেন্সর দিয়ে কোনো একটা ডাটা কালেক্ট করে মেশিন লার্নিং দিয়ে কিছু একটা বলে দিবে। এইসব যে ঘোড়ার ডিমে উনারা পছন্দ করবেন। উনারা বলবেন যে এগুলা বোগাস। কারণ কি? কারণ হচ্ছে যে একজন ডাক্তার নিজে রুগীকে দেখে অনেক কিছু করেও কিন্তু সহজে তার পক্ষে মানে ডাক্তারের পক্ষে সহজ সমাধান দেওয়া সম্ভব না। সেখানে এইসব জিনিসগুলো ট্রাস্টওয়ার্দি আনাটা খুবই কঠিন এবং ডেভেলপিং কান্ট্রি গুলোতে আরো বেশি কঠিন। এইজন্য আমাদের গবেষণা আরো বেশি করতে হবে যাতে করে আমরা একটা ম্যাচিউরড পর্যায়ে নিয়ে যেতে পারি। এইজন্যই ডোন্ট জাম্প easily on products until you profoundly do experimentations and satisfied with the results. And যে স্টক হোল্ডার বললাম, আমি হেলথ কেয়ার নিয়ে কাজ করব সেখানে ডাক্তার নাই। আমি মানসিক অবস্থা নিয়ে কাজ করব সেখানে সাইকোলজিস্টরা ইনভলভ না। এই রিসার্চ কোনো কাজে আসবে না, এটা মাথায় রাখতে হবে। হট টপিক শুনে আমরা যেন লাফাই না, ঝাঁপাই না। হ্যাঁ? এআই, ডিপ লার্নিং, মেশিন লার্নিং, রোবোটিক্স, ব্লকচেইন, আইওটি এসব কথাবার্তা আসতেছে। আসলে যেকোনো এরিয়াতে রিসার্চ করলেই আপনি গবেষণাটা শিখলেন। রিসার্চ আসলে ২ বছর, ৩ বছর, ৫ বছর এর জিনিস না। সুতরাং যেকোনো সুযোগ আসে সেখানে আপনি গভীরভাবে শিখার চেষ্টা করুন। এরপরে আপনি যেকোনো ডোমেইনে যান না কেন, that will not be a big challenge or problem. বাট যদি আপনার পক্ষে সম্ভব হয় এআই, ডিপ লার্নিং, মেশিন লার্নিং এট লিস্ট এই ৩ টা আসলে ৩ টা মূলত একটা যদি আপনি ধরেন ব্রডলি তাহলে কাজ করেন তাহলে সেটা আপনার যেকোনো ডোমেইনে কাজ করতে পারবেন। ইভেন ইন ইকোনমিক্স। ওকে? এক্সেলেন্ট। দেন হচ্ছে যে বাই দ্য ওয়ে এক্সেলেন্ট কিন্তু আমার নিজের কথাকে বলি নাই। এক্সেলেন্ট বলেছি আমার মেয়ে একটা নতুন জামা পরে আসছে। এখন আমার মেয়েকে জাস্ট আনন্দিত করার জন্য এক্সেলেন্ট বললাম। কেউ ভাবতে পারে যে আমার নিজের কথা দিয়ে আমি এক্সেলেন্ট বললাম। আহা! ওরকম না। তা এইজন্য বলছি যে জানুন, স্টাডি ডিপ গভীরভাবে পড়ুন অন এ টপিক, নো স্টেট অফ দ্য আর্ট অর্থাৎ লেটেস্ট কাজ যেগুলো ওই লাইনে সেগুলো পড়ার চেষ্টা করুন। করার পরে দেখুন যে সত্যি এই কাজটা আমাদের কাজে লাগবে কিনা, আমাদের প্রয়োজন আছে কিনা। রিমেম্বার অনেক রিসার্চে আছে আমরা করি, কাজে লাগবে কিনা, প্রয়োজন কিনা সেটা চিন্তা না করে। দ্যাটস ফাইন। কারণ আমরা রিসার্চাররা যখন রিসার্চে আর্লি স্টেজে ইভেন এট দ্য লেভেল অফ পিএইচডি মোস্ট অফ দ্য কেসেস আমরা মূলত শিখি কিভাবে জীবনে গবেষণা করতে হবে। সুতরাং এই জন্য আমাদের মাথায় রাখতে হবে যে অতটা চিন্তা করার দরকার নাই। কিন্তু যদি সুযোগ থাকে এবং লং টার্মে কাজ করার কোনো অপরচুনিটি থাকে সেই ক্ষেত্রে আমরা এমন একটা কাজ নেব যেটাতে একটা মানবিক মোটিভেশন কাজ করে এবং নলেজ বেসড এফোর্টস লাগবে। ঠিক আছে? যা নট whimsically to make a never make a quick decision. এটা কিন্তু রিসার্চারদের জন্য, পলিসি মেকারদের জন্য, যারা ফান্ডিং দিবেন তাদের জন্য, সবার জন্যই দরকার। রিসার্চ কখনোই এক দেখাতেই প্রেম নয়। বাংলা সিনেমায় অথবা হিন্দি সিনেমায় এরকম প্রচুর আমরা দেখতে পাই বা দেখেছি ছোটবেলায় যে দেখেছে আর প্রেমে পড়ে গেছে। বাস্তব জীবনে কত মেয়ে দেখেছি বা কত ছেলে দেখেছি, কখনো প্রেমে পড়তে দেখি নাই আরকি বা মনে হয় নাই। আ তো সো লার্ন as much as you can. একদিনে কখনো ভালো গবেষক আপনারা হতে পারবেন না। And we need mid-term and long-term knowledge-based realistic plans, especially for those who are, managing researchers. ইয়াং রিসার্চারদের আরেকটা জিনিস হলো যে সবসময় সহজ জিনিস করবেন না আবার। এটা আমি দেখতে পাই বাংলাদেশে বা ইন্ডিয়ার প্রচুর পেপার আমরা পাই। দেখি যে খুবই এভারেজ অথবা লো লেভেলের একটা কাজ, রাবিশ বলবো না, কিন্তু খুবই উইক কাজ প্রতি বছরই করতেছে একই রকম। এবার যেন টিচাররাই আমরা রেসপন্সিবল। কারণ হচ্ছে যে ছাত্র যখন নতুন একটা আসে তাকে আমরা ওই পুরনো পচা কাজ দিয়ে তাকে উৎসাহিত করার চেষ্টা করি। ইনস্টেড অফ দ্যাট আমরা যদি তাকে নতুন কাজ দিতাম এবং আগের কাজের উপর বেস করে আপগ্রেড করার জন্য দিতাম সেটা বরঞ্চ বেটার হতো। পাবলিকেশনের পেছনে দৌড়ানো কখনোই উচিত না। এবং এইজন্য আমি সবসময় বলি যে আমার যদিও অনেক পেপার আছে কিন্তু অনেক পেপার বলতে ইফ ইউ সে যে 200 পেপারস ইজ এ গুড নাম্বার। কিন্তু 200 পেপারস ইজ নাম্বার এ গুড কিন্তু সেটার পরিবর্তে যদি আমার আইটিপিডি ট্রানজাকশন পামিতে ৫ টা থাকতো তাহলে সেটা বেটার হতো। ব্যাপারটা হচ্ছে এরকম আরকি। বা নেচারে যদি কয়েকটা থাকতো সায়েন্টিফিক রিপোর্টস না জেনুইন যে নেচারের বা ওগুলা যদি থাকতো তাহলে সেটা অনেক বড় হতো। আমার এক ছোট ভাই সে জার্মানিতে আছে। সে হচ্ছে ইউরোপিয়ান মলিকুলার বায়োলজি ল্যাবে আছে। বিভিন্ন কনফারেন্সে সে কিনোট স্পিচ দেয়। ডক্টর জুলিয়াস হোসেন। জুলিয়াস ঢাকা ইউনিভার্সিটি টিচার ছিলেন সিএসসি ডিপার্টমেন্টে। তা ওর ২-৩ বছরের মধ্যে সায়েন্স এবং নেচারের মেইন জায়গায় তার 3-4টা পেপার হয়ে গেছে। এখন ওগুলার সাথে আমার 200 কখনো কম্পেয়ার করা যাবে না। হুম? আগরতলা চকিরতলা না হলেও মানে ব্যাপারটা এরকমই কাছাকাছি। তো এইজন্য শুধু সংখ্যার পিছনে যেন আমরা না ঘুরি। ইয়েস, অনেক সময় enthusiasm এর জন্য আমাদের 1-2টা ছোট, ছোট পেপার দরকার পড়ে। সেটা আমরা লোকাল কনফারেন্স লোকাল বলতে আমি বুঝাচ্ছি যে যেগুলো লোকালি ঘটে এবং জেনুইনলি টপ কনফারেন্স না। কিন্তু পরবর্তীতে আমরা যেন ভালো কিছু করার চেষ্টা করি। আরেকটা হলো লার্নিং স্টেজে আমরা যেন থিংক করি টু ফাইন্ড এ সলিউশন। অনেক সময় সলিউশন আসবে না, নতুন ডিরেকশন আসবে। ওইটাও কিন্তু ইম্পর্টেন্ট। মাথায় রাখতে হবে যে আমরা কখনোই দিনে বড় প্রবলেম সলভ করতে পারবো না। ইট অলওয়েজ টেকস টাইম টু ফাইন্ড এ নিউ সলিউশন। কিন্তু পেপার পাবলিকেশনের দিকে যে মাথা ঝুঁকে তাহলে কিন্তু আমরা নতুন আইডিয়া চিন্তা, আমরা শুধু চিন্তা করব যে কিভাবে রেজাল্টটাকে একটু ইমপ্রুভ করা যায় বা বাড়ানো যায়, রেদার দেন থিঙ্কিং সামথিং নিউ ডিরেকশনস অথবা ট্রাইং সামথিং নিউ, যেটার জন্য সময় নষ্ট হতে হবে। কিন্তু আসলে রিসার্চে কিন্তু এই জন্য পিএইচডি তে দেখা যায়, বিশেষ করে ভালো ল্যাবগুলোতে 3 বছর 4 বছর 5 বছরেও ওখানে দেখা যায় একটা অথবা দুইটা পেপার পাবলিশ করতে পারে। কিন্তু আহ, উম, আহ, সে শিখে। আর পচা জায়গায় যেটা অনেক সময় হয় বা দুর্বল জায়গায় বা এভারেজ জায়গায় এবং ভালো জায়গায় কখনো কখনো হতে পারে, নট অলওয়েজ, অনেক পেপার হচ্ছে কিন্তু আসলে রিসার্চের পেপার হচ্ছে কিন্তু রিসার্চটা কিভাবে করছে বা তার ডিটেলস বা ডেপথ সেভাবে তৈরি হয় না। এই জন্য আমাদের মাথায় রাখতে হবে যে সব সময় মাস্ট ডু দ্য হার্ডেস্ট ওয়ার্ক। আর টাকা পয়সা স্পেন্ড করতে হবে, স্পেশালি এডুকেশন এবং রিসার্চে। লাখ লাখ টাকা বিয়েতে খরচ না করে গবেষণায় ঢালতে হবে। মা বাবার আমরা জানি যে মেয়েদের জন্য ছেলেদের জন্য বিয়েতে অনেক টাকা পয়সা জমায় রাখে যাতে করে কাজে লাগে। কিন্তু আসলে ওই টাকাটা যদি 1 লাখ 2 লাখ টাকা দিয়ে যদি রিসার্চের পিছনে ঢালা হয় তাহলে সেটা কিন্তু খুবই কার্যকরী হয় এবং ইউ নেভার নো যে এটার ডিরেক্ট বেনিফিট কত বেশি। এবং প্যাশন তো লাগবে যে কোনো কাজের জন্য। সুতরাং বি ইমোশনাল টু বি এ বিগ রিসার্চার, বাট মানে ডোন্ট রুইন বাই জাস্ট ওয়ার্কিং অ্যাবনর্মালি। প্ল্যান ওয়াইজ, স্টেপ বাই স্টেপ স্মার্ট ওয়েতে কাজ করলে দেখা যাবে যে লং টার্ম ভালো ফল আসবে। এবং আমরা দেখতে পাচ্ছি যে এই সময় আমাদের ডাক্তার, নার্সেস এবং রিলেটেড যারা স্টাফস, উই স্যালিউট দোজ ফাইটার্স ডিউরিং দিস করোনা টাইম। এবং একটা জিনিস খেয়াল করতে হবে, আমরা অনেকেই বিভিন্ন দেশীয় সময় যখন ন্যাশনাল ব্যাপার স্যাপার আসে তখন ফেসবুকের কালার চেঞ্জ করে ফেলি, ইমোজি দেই, এই করি সে করি ইত্যাদি। বাট জেনুইনলি যদি আমরা আমার দেশকে ভালোবাসি বা আমাদের পিপলকে ভালোবাসি অ্যান্ড অ্যাজ এ হোল গ্লোবাল হিউম্যানিটিকে ভালোবাসি, তাহলে ওয়াই ডোন্ট উই ডু দ্য বেস্ট ইন টার্মস অফ রিসার্চ অ্যান্ড লার্নিং, যাতে করে আমরা চেঞ্জ দ্য ওয়ার্ল্ড, বি এ চেঞ্জার। এবং এটা ইম্পসিবল না এবং এটা একদিনে হবে না। হতে পারে যে আমরা কিছু করলাম, আমাদের দেখা দেখি পরের প্রজন্ম আরো বেটার করবে, পরের প্রজন্ম আরো বেটার করবে, এন্ড ইট উইল বি এক্সিলেন্ট। বাট পয়েন্ট হচ্ছে যে আমাদের কাজ করতে হবে এবং এটা করতে হবে বেস্ট ওয়েতে এবং দ্য বেস্ট ইফোর্টস দিতে হবে। হালকা পাতলা ইফোর্টস দিব তা নয়। তো এই হচ্ছে কথা। এবং স্পেশালি যেটা বললাম যে হেলথ কেয়ার সেক্টর অনেক কাজ রয়েছে। তো এখানে ভিশন অথবা আইওটি, ইন্টারনেট অফ থিংস নিয়ে বলা। আমার রিসার্চ এরিয়া অনেকগুলো কাজই হচ্ছে হেলথ কেয়ার রিলেটেড, যেখানে মূলত হিউম্যান অ্যাকশনস বা অ্যাক্টিভিটি এন্ড গেট গুলো আমরা স্টাডি করি। তো এগুলো আমি কিছু বলার চেষ্টা করব। তা যারা জানে না কম্পিউটার ভিশন, তারা হচ্ছে যে কম্পিউটার ভিশন একটা হচ্ছে ইন্টারডিসিপ্লিনারি ফিল্ড, যেটা কি করে যে হাউ কম্পিউটার্স অথবা কম্পিউটার পরিবার থেকে ইন্টেলিজেন্ট মেশিনস ক্যান গেইন হাই লেভেল আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ডিং কোত্থেকে, যে ইমেজ অথবা ভিডিও থেকে। এবং ইফ উই ওয়ান্ট মেশিনস টু থিঙ্ক, উই নিড টু টিচ দেম টু সি। এটা হচ্ছে কথা। কে বলেছে? ফেই ফেইলি, যে হচ্ছে আমরা অনেকেই জানি যে স্ট্যানফোর্ডে এবং শি ইজ দ্য ডিরেক্টর অফ স্ট্যানফোর্ড এআই ল্যাব এবং লিজেন্ডারি লেডি। সুতরাং আহ, উম, তো পয়েন্ট হচ্ছে যে ক্যান এ মেশিন সি ক্যামেরা, এটা আরজিবি হোক আইআর হোক, এবং আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড। আমরা কিন্তু নর্মালি যেসব ক্যামেরা থাকে, যেমন আমার মোবাইল ফোনে ক্যামেরা আছে, হ্যাঁ থেকে কোনো কিছু আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড করতে পারে? আসলে পারে না। সে শুধু ছবি তুলে বসে ফেলতেছে। কিন্তু যদি এখানে কোনো রকমের এআই কম্পোনেন্ট বা কোনো কিছু থাকতো, তাহলে সে আরো বেশি পরিমাণ শিখতে পারতো, অ্যান্ড সো অন। এবং এইসব স্টাডি ক্যান বি ইউজফুল অ্যান্ড হেল্পফুল ফর হিউম্যান অথবা অ্যানিমেলস, ব্লাইন্ডস, or even beyond the spectrum. অ্যানাদার পয়েন্ট হচ্ছে জাস্ট একটু বলার জন্য যে কম্পিউটার ভিশন, মেশিন ভিশন, ইমেজিং প্রসেস এগুলো আসলে ওভারল্যাপ করে, এবং এগুলোর সাথে রোবট ভিশন বা রোবোটিক্সের সিগন্যাল প্রসেসিং, ফিজিক্সের ক্ষেত্রে অপটিক্স, স্মার্ট ক্যামেরাস যেখানে ইমেজিং পার্ট, নিউরোবায়োলজি, বায়োলজিক্যাল ভিশন অ্যান্ড ম্যাথমেটিক্স তো সব জায়গায় প্রয়োজন। যারা ম্যাথে দুর্বল, স্ট্যাটিস্টিক্স দুর্বল, তারা ওই জায়গায় ডেভেলপ করার চেষ্টা করুন, কারণ এগুলো করলে আলটিমেটলি আর কোনো দিকে তাকাইতে হবে না। কিন্তু আমরা যদি ম্যাথ এবং স্টেটে দুর্বল থাকি, এই যে জিওমেট্রিতে দুর্বল থাকি, এবং অপটিমাইজেশন ইজ নিডেড ইন মেনি কেসেস, তাহলে আমরা পারবো না। আর এগুলো যদি ভালো জানি, তাহলে আমার জন্য মেশিন লার্নিং এর বিভিন্ন টুলস বুঝা এবং কোনটা কোথায় ব্যবহার হবে, রেদার দেন আমি একের পরে ট্রাই করলাম যেটা ভালো হয় সেটা। লাকিলি এটা তরকারির মতো না, নতুবা দেখা যেত যে তরকারিতে আমরা অনেক রকমের মশলা খালি দিয়ে ট্রাই করলাম 10 ভাবে, একটা মজা হয়ে বাকি 9টা ফেলে দিতে হবে, খাওয়ার অযোগ্য। হুম। এরকম যদি হইতো তাহলে কিন্তু আমরা করতে পারতাম না। নাকিলে আমাদের এখন যেটা আছে মেশিন লার্নিং, বিভিন্ন টুলস আছে, সফটওয়্যার আছে, ওগুলো আমরা ট্রাই করি এবং আমরা দেখি কোনটা ভালো হয়। কিন্তু উত্তম হচ্ছে ইফ উই ক্যান আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড হোয়াই ইট ওয়ার্কস, হাউ ইট ওয়ার্কস, অ্যান্ড হোয়াই ইট ফেইলস, হোয়ার ইট ফেইলস, অ্যান্ড হাউ ইট ফেইলস। তো ফেইলুরের সাইড এবং কাজের সাইড দুইটাই যদি আমরা ভালো মতো জানতে পারি, তখন আপনারা বুঝতে পারবেন। তো হিউম্যান অ্যাক্টিভিটি রিকগনিশনের একটা পার্ট হচ্ছে যে সেন্সর বেসড অথবা ভিডিও বেসড অথবা ওয়্যারেবল সেন্সর বেসড, যে আমার বডি হাতে যদি কোনো ওয়্যারেবল থাকে বা বডিতে কোথাও যদি কোনো সেন্সর থাকে, সেই সেন্সর গুলো, আইওটি সেন্সর গুলো, ভিডিও নয়, ভিডিও বেসড আইওটি সেন্সরস রয়েছে এখন, মানে ক্যামেরা বেসড, বাট এগুলো করে আমরা আলটিমেটলি বিভিন্ন রকমের সেন্সরের ডাটা কালেক্ট করে আমরা করতে পারি। তো এখানে যেটা সেটা হচ্ছে যে আমাদের আরজিবি বেসড ডাটা রয়েছে, স্কেলেটন বেসড ডেটা আমরা পাই। আরজিবি বেসড বলতে আমরা ইমেজ অথবা ভিডিও বোঝাচ্ছি। স্কেলেটন স্কেলেটন বলতে বোঝাচ্ছি যে কিছু কিছু ক্যামেরা আছে অথবা মোশন ক্যাপচার সিস্টেম আছে, যেখানে আমি বডি জয়েন্ট পয়েন্টস গুলো পিক করতে পারি অটোমেটিক্যালি ফ্রম এন ইমেজ। সেই বডি জয়েন্ট পয়েন্টস গুলোকে আমি ধরবো। তার মানে এটা একটা মেজর রিসার্চ এরিয়া। এবং এই বডি জয়েন্ট পয়েন্টস গুলো আসলে কি, এটা হচ্ছে যে ধরেন যে এক্স ওয়াই জি বা এক্স ওয়াই জেড, তিনটা ভ্যালিউজ পার পয়েন্ট। তা আমি যদি বলি যে আমার হাত এরকম মুভ করতেছে, তাহলে আসলে এখানে একটা পয়েন্ট, ধরেন আঙ্গুল বাদ দিলাম, এখানে একটা পয়েন্ট, এখানে একটা পয়েন্ট, এই দুইটা পয়েন্টের মুভমেন্ট আমি যদি অ্যানালাইসিস করতে, তাহলে কিন্তু আমি কিছু বুঝতে পারি। ফলে সো লিটল ইনফরমেশন নাও আই হ্যাভ। সুতরাং গরিব দেশের জন্য গবেষণায়, গরিব দেশ অথবা যেই দেশ গবেষণায় পয়সা ঢালে না, সেই দেশগুলোর জন্য, বাংলাদেশ হোক, ইন্ডিয়া হোক বা অন্যান্য কান্ট্রিগুলো, আমি বলছি কম্পেয়ার করছি সিঙ্গাপুরের সাথে, কম্পেয়ার করছি জাপান বা আমেরিকার সাথে, হ্যাঁ, সেই দেশগুলোর জন্য এই টাইপের রিসার্চ গুলো সহজ। কারণ হচ্ছে যে ইমেজের জন্য প্রচুর পরিমাণে, ইমেজের সাইজ আমরা জানি, একটা মোবাইলে ছবি তুললে এখন 3-4 মেগাবাইট হয়ে যাচ্ছে। ওয়ারাস একটা যদি আমি ওই একটা ইমেজ থেকে যদি জাস্ট কয়েকটা বডি জয়েন্ট পয়েন্টস পাই, তাহলে আমি একটা ডক ফাইলে অথবা টেক্সট ফাইলে বা সিএসভি ফাইলে বা এক্সেল ফাইলে আমি দেখবো জাস্ট হলো কয়েকটা পয়েন্টস, 3 পয়েন্টস, 3 পয়েন্টস, 3 পয়েন্টস এন্ড সো অন। সুতরাং স্কেলেটন বেসড একটা ইম্পর্টেন্ট পার্ট। এই স্কেলেটন বেসড এর মতোই আসলে যদি আমরা বলি সেন্সর বেসড, তাহলে আমার বডিতে যদি এখানে একটা সেন্সর থাকে, ধরলাম যে অ্যাক্সেলেরোমিটার সেন্সর, এখানে একটা অ্যাক্সেলেরোমিটার সেন্সর থাকে, তাহলে কিন্তু আলটিমেটলি আমি যখন মুভ করছি, তখন এই অ্যাক্সেলেরোমিটার সেন্সরের এক্স ওয়াই জেড আমি তিনটেই ভ্যালু পাচ্ছি। অথবা জাইরোস্কোপ যদি হয় অথবা অন্য কোনো সেন্সর হয়, তাহলে আমি জাস্ট ফিউ নাম্বারস পাচ্ছি, ভ্যালুস পাচ্ছি। ফলে টোটাল ডেটা পরিমাণ কমে যাচ্ছে। এতে অবশ্যই কিছু লস আছে, কম্প্রোমাইজ তো সবসময় হবে, কিন্তু অ্যাট দ্য সেম টাইম আমি কিছু ইনফরমেশন পাই, যেগুলো আমি সিম্পল কম্পিউটার দিয়ে অথবা গুগল কোল্যাব বা এই টাইপের মানে সিস্টেমে আমরা এগুলো ব্যবহার করে কাজ করতে পারি। এখন যেটা সেটা হচ্ছে গিয়ে যে কন্টিনিউয়াস সিকোয়েন্স আমরা কাজ করি না, মূলত কাজ করি হচ্ছে ভাগে ভাগে। সুতরাং এটা একটা পয়েন্ট। হাফিজ সিকদার রেইজড ইউর হ্যান্ড। আমি রিকমেন্ড করি যে ইফ ইউ রাইট দ্য কোশ্চেন্স এট দিস মোমেন্ট, তা যখন আমরা কিউএ সেশনে আসবো, কাইন্ডলি আপনি তখন প্রশ্নটা করবেন।
Sir, sorry to interrupt, but someone is not understanding your lecture. Actually, she has been trying to draw your attention for a long time.
Okay. I didn't see any message in the chat box.
Again, sorry
Oh,
for interruption.
okay. English, please. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, mm, so we are talking about video-based human activity recognition and IoT sensor-based activity recognition or applications or healthcare. So when we are considering RGB, then it's a huge amount of data normally, because the one image we know that few megabytes. So then if you go for, I mean, several minutes video, then huge data. So you must need GPU or, I mean, high computing facilities to work on. On the other hand, if you go for skeleton data, basically skeleton data is based on body joint points. So, so for example, my wrist, or this is, I think, elbow, right? Okay. So elbow, each point has only X, Y, Z, three different values. So based on the camera coordination, or I mean coordinate, I mean, you can get three values, and those values are representing one image or one frame. So skeleton based or similarly sensor based, like if we consider IoT sensor, say I have a, I mean, watch at this moment I don't have, but I have a Fitbit. So if I put it here and it has an accelerometer, so basically I get X, Y, Z. Or if I have another sensor like mobile phone, definitely we know that mobile phone has many sensors. So through these processes, we can get low amount of data for, I mean, evaluation that will be faster and even good for real-time applications or edge devices or IoT devices or low power devices. So these are the few points. Now, we can have depth or and so on. So I move on. So I was talking about smartphone, where I mean where accelerometer or gyroscope or other sensors are there. But most of the cases, I will I mean show you a few slides where more than 150 different data sets on I mean sensors for only for human activity recognition, and those sensors basically are, I mean, those data sets are basically based on accelerometer and in some cases gyroscope. Definitely some of those are using other sensors and so on. So when it is about recognition, especially for human activity recognition, we want to know about the person's, what kind of actions the person is doing. So and we may need initialization, tracking, pose estimation, and recognition, which is nothing but the pattern recognition. So sensor-based human activity recognition, which is from mobile phone or other IoT sensors, we can, I mean, recognize different actions from sensor data by doing some pre-processing and going for feature extraction. So you will find a few hundred papers, research papers published in different conferences, including UBComp and PARCOM and others. I mean, top conferences on sensing and so on. And they used various kinds of features. Or nowadays, if the data set is really large, they are also considering deep learning based, LSTM based and other modules for human activity recognition based on sensors. And those things you will find that lots of applications. So enormous scopes. I have a book. I mean, last year the book is published in Springer. You can find this book, IoT sensor based human activity recognition. It has 10 chapters, so hopefully you can buy it and have it. And of course, one of my, I mean, co-researchers, one professor from Bangladesh, he sent me my book. He found it online. So if you find it, enjoy. Okay, I have no complaint. Uh, so action recognition, healthcare, surveillance, and man-machine interactions,
Sir,
many
can you tell
applications.
the name of the book again, please?
The name of the book is, okay, you can find it in my website, but IoT sensor-based human activity recognition or sensor-based activity recognition, and then see what you get. And yeah, I hope that you'll find it. If you don't find, let me know later.
Thank you, sir.
So welcome. So here, I mean, different applications like video surveillance, sports, action understanding by robot. Even I talked about this before, long before, that why do we need robots in our life to interact with people? Now, after working in Japan and dealing with other researchers and different communities, I feel that there are, I mean, millions of people all over the world who really need someone. They are either single, elderly person, or single person somehow, or even in hospital for a longer period, and they need someone personal to interact. So that's why, like augmented reality or virtual reality. Last night there was a conference, and where Anton Nyolt, he gave a talk. I don't know whether any of you attended. So that is on these kind of things. That I mean, I have some virtual VR system, or just some glass or something, and I'm walking or I'm staying in a home, and basically I am just dealing with someone totally artificial. Something like that. But robot is important because the robot is nothing but, I mean, in this case, will be your companion. It's not only that, it will be just a home doctor in another sense. It can get lots of data from different sensors and give you guidance or give you support and so on. So that's why, I mean, action understanding by robot or understanding your everything is very important. Of course, those are personalized robots staying at home, helping you and cooperating each other. I mean, each other means robot will learn, but there is no benefit, but robot can help you at the same time. In the hospital rehabilitation center and smart house, I mean, if you go there, you will find the real life, the meaning of life and meaning of healthy life, importance of healthy life. So that's why, I mean, we can have lots of, I mean, uh, research scopes for doctors and nurses so that we can do better. Remember, doctors are working, nurses are working, but are there enough doctors or nurses considering the amount of people? The answer is globally no. It's true for Japan, for America, for Bangladesh or India, whatever. So this is important that we make IoT sensor based or video based different systems and mechanisms by which we can uh, find some solutions for the doctors or easy for them to evaluate. That's another point. Entertainment industry you may ignore because those who are earning money like sports, they can do a lot and so on. Detecting fall down is very important. Another is sensor based, like daily exercise monitoring we do. Patient monitoring outside hospital. Just think that if we go to the hospital, whether we spend money in private hospital or public hospital, basically we are spending money. And if it is covered by the insurance, then it is also a negative point that if we go to the hospital, it's not only for your body, but for the country, for the economy as well. Now, if I have a surgery, I return home, and then what happens that I don't follow the instructions properly, or I don't sleep properly. I do Facebooking. I eat sweets so much, even though doctors forbid me not to do and this kind of things. Now, if I have some sensors on my body and those sensors are collecting some information, or if there is a mobile app where I must put some information every day few times, if it can judge my sleeping behavior from another sensor on body or on the sleeping bed or sleeping mat or some other cameras, then overall there is some data collection every moment. Those data is not important initially, but if there is any abnormality or irregularities, then there will be some signal, there will be some information to the doctors, to their neighbor, I mean, and not neighbors, I mean, to the relatives and so on. Through this process, we can monitor and control the patient so that he or she doesn't need to go to the hospital again. Because if you go to the hospital again and then you incur more money, and of course, I mean, sick people are not good for a country. Healthy people are good for a country. So again, I can say that if you love your country, then remain healthy, so that you never need to go to the hospital. This is important. And of course, use mask and like this way. Okay, but I'm at home and alone, so no problem. Sensor based fall detection, this is another important because in many countries fall detection is a big problem. Like in a private meeting with the researcher group of Kyushu University, one of the largest hospitals in Japan, the professor told me that every year, or say every month, roughly 50 people, they fall down in the hospital. So think, you go to the hospital to be healthy, but at the same time you fall down because of some problems, and then you become more vulnerable. So that's why fall detection is important. Now, fall detection, it can happen that suddenly I can fall down. This is very difficult to recognize or detect. But if I have bad sleep for the last 1 week, and since morning I have been feeling bad, and maybe I sweat sometimes, for example now, and my health is, I don't feel good if like this, but still I continued my work. But if there is a sensor or sensors, and those sensors data collected by server or my system, and based on some smart algorithm, it can give me some information that, Ahad, be careful because your something is more or less than usual you had in the past. And based on this, I can be monitored, I can be controlled, which is important. Just like, our kids, if they don't sleep, we say, hey, why don't you sleep, go to the bed, and we push them, request them. Sometimes we become angry and they cry and they sleep another delay and so on. But whatever, the point is that, we try to monitor things. We also need to be monitored by sensors and others. So through this process we can control the fall detection, that suddenly I'm not falling down and so on. Elderly care in case of emergency, it is extremely important at home as well as in elderly support system. In Bangladesh or India, we don't care because we have so many people, we say, but actually it's not the case always. There is still, day by day, because of less amount of children, 1 or 2 children in the family, they go overseas or outside, one of the parents die, and then only one remains and no supporting hand. What will happen? It may happen that she or he is alone and suffering, and something problem, nobody is there to support emergency. And that's why elderly care in case of emergency is extremely important. And on that case, how can I know? Like if my mother falls down in the toilet, how can she inform me? But if the entire room is covered by different kinds of environmental sensors or a few on-body sensors, remember on-body sensors has negative points because it cannot, for elderly people or sick people, body sensors are not good. They don't like to wear anything, but sometimes it is required, so we need to do that. So that's why, this is very important. In our lab, at Osaka University, we have some works, serious works, and one associate professor, he has been working on for 3+ years, more than 3 years. And then he's trying to develop some systems so that you can put cameras and sensors and everything at home and then monitor someone's entire daily life. And only when there is any abnormality, you just notice, otherwise not. It's not so easy. And some people say that privacy, Japan is extremely controlled on privacy. That's why you may not get enough benchmark data sets from Japan because of privacy, they cannot open because their law is very strict and so on. Still, I was part of that project with one of my students, Mr. Masood, who is now in US. So, initially we are thinking that no RGB camera, but later on, after trial and error on different kinds of sensors and agreements and discussions, finally we are still, continuing RGB cameras along with other cameras as well. Of course, there are various issues we cannot discuss here because of confidentiality, but the main point is that sensor based and vision based, this kind of systems we must need for the future. And elderly people are increasing globally. I have few slides later on, yeah, if time permits, we'll show and you can see. So that is very important. Another important part is remote monitoring of pregnant women. Many mothers, they suffer suddenly. If we know that there are, possibility of things, then we can monitor them. So that's why sensor based, IoT sensor based study and research is very important. And you cannot do this kind of things without the involvement of doctors and real patients. You cannot make someone pregnant and then just act data collection and so on. That will be different. Just like you cannot make someone blindfolded, and say that, oh, you are a blind person versus a if you blindfolded me will be different, because blind people, they have excellent sense by which they can move and do something which I cannot suddenly. So if you make a device for blind people, deal with the blind people. And similarly, if you try to make a system for some group of people, community or people, try to engage them. Here comes the problem that you need ethical clearance and another lots of other issues. And regarding elderly people, this is another problem, that to get sample actions or classes, I cannot tell my mother that mom jump or mom fall down, please, and so on, because it's impossible. So how to deal these kind of things, it's very challenging. A couple of years before I came to Japan, some of my students they did one work on fall detection, and it was painful, even though they jumped and dropped down on the couch. I mean, it was comfy, but how many times you can do? You are not an athlete. So basically they had to deal with not biryani but paracetamols and others. Action hierarchy. We say basic action, very simple, but if an action is going for a longer period, or if you say interactions like human interactions, two persons interactions, or man machine interactions, or you can say that human object interactions, which are all important in life, how to do these kind of things are important. And now when we think about computer vision or video, some things are easier to do, but when it comes to interactions, sensors will have another challenge or perspective, because if I handshake with you or hug with you, your sensor and my sensors, they should communicate each other to give an impression that I hugged you or I handshaked with you. So this is important. So, but we cannot get, and till now, I mean, all sensor data are, I mean, private and person oriented. So it's not, I mean, easy to handle this kind of things. Vision is another domain, but many people say that vision has privacy issues because the video is collecting and you cannot keep the video. So one option is that from the video, if you can extract the skeleton body joint points, then basically it's a sort of video, but you can get the body joint points, which is not actually a real person. Actions can have different motion information, even multitasking, and we know mothers are great in multitasking. And when it comes to multitasking, it's also very difficult. There are video based or RGB based or I mean depth camera based or skeleton based data sets. One important area where you can work is activity of daily living. It's like, I mean, doing some actions but for a longer period. It's also targeting healthcare, rehabilitation, occupational therapy, so that instead of understanding some actions of few seconds, we try to understand the entire works. It's not so easy as well. Another work is called grasping database, or you can say that ADL, which I mentioned, but based on egocentric camera. I'll show you in the next slide so you can see here. Um, if you see here, I mean, definitely she's cooking or stirring or cleaning and so on. But where is the camera? The camera is located maybe on the glass here or forehead or maybe above the chest, okay, around the neck, so that the camera can collect some data and it can help you real time, or it can guide you, or it can be incorporated with virtual reality, mixed reality, augmented reality, whatever way you think, and then help you for many different applications. And it is important area as well. And till now, these kind of data sets are not much progresses has been done, so you can work as well. And it has important applications in paralyzed and rehabilitation stages. So I have worked with, I mean, some hospitals, and especially rehabilitation hospital. So over there, I saw that, for example, one stroke patient, he was trying to collect this cup, for example, very easily because it's a cup. I mean, no problem. But when the paralyzed side, I want to hold it, but it cannot. I mean, something like this falling down and so on. But through therapy and exercise and medications, we improve. So every week, if you do every day, if you do this exercise and see the development of the patient without involving any doctors every time, especially COVID time, you cannot go to the hospital. So do it at home in front of a camera. Show the doctor that you are trying like this way. Doctor will not see. Your AI-based system will automatically analyze the data and give some feedback, how accurate you are or how closer you are. You can say that sort of scoring. So our action quality, remember, action recognition or understanding something and classify them like pattern recognition has been going on for over 2 decades, and especially last 10 years it has been enormously matured. But when it comes to the quality of an action, that how good the action is, or if I say that uh, scoring of an action, if you say that 0 to 1, what level you want to give the actions, 10 levels, which level, or 5 levels, which level, these are very important, and those are not so difficult to do. So that's why I strongly recommend that you also consider this kind of works, and it can have many different applications and not so difficult to do. And this is, I feel. Large video data sets are all recent data sets, large video, YouTube based. I mean, those who have been working on this area, you may know that, I mean, 10 years before or 15 years before, number of actions were only 6, 8, 10. But now it is few thousands by, I mean, huge amount of people, and without a huge processing speed you cannot do. So for poor countries, research wise, it's very difficult. Then you can go for skeleton, and luckily we have almost 1000 different skeleton based data sets. Mostly of the data sets are smaller and suitable for handcrafted features, but we have large data sets recently, especially last couple of years. Two from NTU from Singapore, they have 60 classes instead of 6 to 10 classes, and another 120 classes, multi-view and very difficult. So or motion capture based systems, there are a few. So on that case, you need deep learning based methods. So again, skeleton based means one frame instead of one image, you have 25 points or before less number of points. And if you consider Azure, I'll show in one of the later slides that the more points and so on. Sensor based activity recognition is another area where you can work. You will find that there are lots of data sets. In my book, in our book with Aninda and Masood, who are, I mean, and basically they are super brilliant guys doing PhD in US from my department. So in our book, we have a chapter where we introduced, I mean, summarized 150 plus data sets, and you will find that there are so many data sets where you can work. So this is important, that I mean, like if you want to work on healthcare or medical activities or sports analysis or household or daily activities or fall detection, psychological event or transportation and locomotion data sets, yes, you can go. So that's why it's important. But definitely, if you want to create new more like night or darker areas by employing IR cameras, for example, they are not much. Far distance or abnormal activities, fall down or abnormal activities, there are a good number of, but still not large, not big one, and so on. We can introduce new data set with the concept of BCI and so on. Emotion information is also important. Yes, there are some data sets as well, but you can explore that what is missing. And based on this, you can introduce new data sets. Rehabilitation and nursing home related data sets are also important, and hospital based data sets are important. Developing countries, it's easier because our restrictions are not so not so much. But what you must need to get the approval through a professional manner. So if you go through one of my lectures on research ethics, I have some points on that. you can find in the YouTube and so on. So I just mentioned here that these are important. Collective understanding collective activities, you can try for that. This is also important, that normal versus abnormal activities. It's so important that you know Hajj, the Muslim people, they, I mean, annual pilgrimage in Makkah, and as well as Medina and others. Millions of people gather there, and we know that, I mean, if there is a small turbulence, I mean, as people are moving, so accidents can happen. In India as well, in many Hindu temples, we find, I mean, in the last 10 years that many people died. Because whenever there is an abnormal turbulence among the, I mean, flow of people, there is an accident. And that's why it's important to understand normal versus abnormal activities. And they spend lots of money for this purpose. So I think that you can also look into these works and try to work on. And these are not IoT sensor based, these are, I mean, video based. Real-time problem. Now, when you have big data set or image especially, then it's really difficult to come into real-time modeling and analysis. GPU cannot be available everywhere as well, and it's expensive at the same time. For edge devices, it cannot work. And when we have more classes, it should be slower. It will be difficult to analyze. But on the other hand, I mean, if we find that real-time is important, can we explore sensor-based approaches? We need to check. Applications in different domains, we can consider gait analysis. Gait means walking pattern. So gait disorder, for example, like especially, I don't know whether any of you have faced this, but I had chikungunya. Yeah, I think so. I didn't go to the doctor, but I felt everywhere that I had chikungunya. And after that, more than 2 years, I suffered that whenever I sit for 1 hour on the chair, and then I wanted to walk up, or in the morning when I got up, I had severe pain on my feet, both feet, and then it was very difficult. I felt sometimes that my bones are broken and so on. And I could not walk normally. Now, if you consider that my walking pattern is abnormal, gait disorder, or due to accident, I have gait disorder, or elderly people, or because of another disease, how to handle this, how to analyze this, how can I know? So these kind of things can be done based on sensors or video. Gait analysis for healthcare based on sensors or video. Video is very difficult because nowadays of, I mean, huge data sets, and our lab at Osaka University Yagi lab is excellent on that. You can look into our works in the lab. But the point is that from developing countries, or young researchers can go for sensor based. Like if your leg has a sensor, and that sensor is collecting some data, from there you can think. Or you can put some accelerometer sensors on your shoes and then see how much data you can get. But before you start your work, you must study and know how far the works have been done so far. I know many cases that students started something, but that work, was, long before. So it's useless to do this kind of things at this moment. Yes, for learning, but you can, if you implement, if you spend your time and energy and learning on a topic which is not, done yet, which is still undone, and not finished, then your work will be interesting, and you can publish good papers, and also it can contribute the community. So that's why I tell you that this is another important research area, IoT sensor based on so on. And sensors are so cheap, so you can do it, but don't make anything abnormally funny, and just like, very trivial thing. That's the main point. Gesture analysis, emotion analysis is very important, and it has huge impact on health care related issues, especially nowadays because of COVID. Globally, we know that, when it's a gender discrimination, but basically we know that women are tortured in many ways, and here emotion and psychological study will have a huge impact. and this kind of work can be done based on video or image analysis and so on. There are lots of works, but you can also try to find different way. And another thing is that you can try, see, face recognition or emotion understanding or other which are based on face. Now we have no face because of mask. You cannot see my full face. So even if I joke or make fun, and you cannot see my lip movements, but many of the gesture analysis or emotion analysis based methods are based on the movement of the lips. You have no movements of the lips. You cannot see the movement of the jaws and this kind of muscles which we call facial action coding system or effects or action units. Now, how can we deal this kind of things? And if I wear a glass or sunglasses, you cannot even see my eyes properly. So that's why it is important that we think that where new research we can start. One strategy you can do easily is that, implement the existing good methods by masking the face partially, and then see how they performs. Through this process, you can find those methods limitations. At the same time, you can know where they fails, and through those processes, probably you will find some new solutions, how to solve this kind of things. But don't make for 20 faces or 100 faces, because we know that in different domains. So always we need to know that how much money is money, how for, if you want to buy a car, how much money you need, and if you want to buy a cup, how much money you need. Similarly, when you do research for gesture analysis, but gesture has different versions, emotion or face recognition or gait, look into the matter, how much data is considered as a standard data. It will vary from domain to domain. Like gait analysis, when you consider sensor based, then data is smaller because not so much. But when you, most of the data they are very small. But if you consider video based, then we have 78,000 people's video data from 14 different cameras in our lab. And in China, Kasia, they also have a good number of the things. So it's important to see where you go. Emotion, running patterns, fall down prediction, facial expression analysis, these are very, very important. For example, recently, we organized, I am part of that, a competition on human identification at a distance on the #1 biometrics conference, you can say that, IGCB. So that, the point is that normally human identification at a distance means like the camera is taking video, people are moving around outside and it's open. So earlier, it was indoor, but now the challenge indoor is done somehow. Now the challenge is how can we solve it outside? In our lab, another group is working. It's about walking beauty, whether my walking is very stylish or not so stylish, or my walking pattern is something different, abnormal, and so on. Also, another research is that if I walk alone, what is my walking pattern? And what about when I walk with some other people? When there are many people around me, what is the situation? Another research area is still coming. Actually, our lab is collected some data. Some data means, hundreds of people's data, morning till evening, and very professionally and so on. But I'm just telling you that, if I walk or run with a knife, it has one meaning. And if I walk or run with a rose, it has another romantic meaning. Okay, so you must understand the object as well, the purpose of. So when we go for research topics, new research topics, you think that whether you can add something extra. On that case, the amount of data set can be smaller and you can work within your domain or capacity. And so on, and that you may create a new research area where other didn't. For example, which I mentioned, that gait attributes, like whether my walking pattern is weak or bad or strong or poor, this kind of work almost none, but our lab started. So this is one point. Another is that we get gait analysis or recognizing a person, male or female, based on the walking pattern, but we need lots of frames. What about, can you do it for one frame, only one image, or 10 images only? So these kind of things are new research areas. So you can create by yourself, but you must study and know the domain in a smarter manner, and so on. Rehabilitation centers, we know that people are increasing. So so for example, in Japan, just think, 65 plus years, I don't know whether I live that much that longer, but 65 plus population will be 30% just after a few years. Can you imagine? So it means that almost every 3 persons, one is 65 plus. So there will be many people about 50, 55, and so on. So who are the younger people? Who will help them? And it's not only for Japan. Look at China. By 2050, 33% of the population will be 60 years. And many other European countries and others will have the same problem. Now, who will help them? There'll be, we need more and more automations. If we do not have automations, we cannot help us after 20 years or 30 years. Maybe by that time, we'll face the same scenario. So that's why it's important. And especially for, I mean, countries like Bangladesh or India, like if your spouse, husband or wife, dies at the age of say 50, and then you want to marry, then maybe every children or relatives will kill you. That why you want. So you need a partner, you need a robot, you will live alone, so you need some sort of, I mean, automation systems by which you can have a better life and better informed life, and so on, and caring. You can say that a robot cannot replace human being, it's true, but at the same time, day by day, robots are coming, and robots are with more intelligence, and they can communicate with the people better. For example, if I don't say I did not sleep last night, and I saw my daughter sleeping but lots of sound or abnormalities getting up and so on, this kind of things, what will I feel? I'll feel that she had bad dreams or she didn't have good sleep. In the morning, if I ask her, based on her last night's situation, and I prepared some food based on this, that would be excellent. Same case for robot can suggest like that. And it is not impossible because sleep monitoring systems are developing so good, so much that, I mean, we can get lots of information as well. Nursing home data set is important, but it is not, I mean, easy to get. Mm, I don't know. Okay, and another is that we need good data sets, mm, in where we need to know whether the intentions are known, conditions are controlled, sample is balanced, and so on. Uh, mm, yeah, so multimodality is another important point, that most of the papers so far only visual, like RGB or depth or skeleton, or only sensor data. Sensor data means accelerometer, gyroscope, and so on. But we need multimodality because in real life, we can get different kinds of data from different modalities. But the point is that multimodal actions and works are much less. I tried one special issue for multimodality sensor-based healthcare systems and also, but I did not get enough papers, enough good papers on this domain. Of course, there are more, but overall, not so much. So we need to consider how to incorporate multimodality. And when you go for multimodality, again, you don't need big data set because multimodality and big data set is difficult to make. So young guys, you can consider that the core data and at the same time one or two another data, and got those get those data to find some solutions. For example, you can consider audio, because nowadays audio is very easy to decipher. Text is very easy to do. But how can you do text? Maybe from the to judge the environment where I am sitting, which area I am in, or maybe GPS data and so on, or object recognition, or facial emotion, psychology, context background, this kind of information can be more useful and so on. So now with that, another point is that what is going to happen soon? What action do we expect next? These kind of informations are also very important. And we need to understand based on the present situation. So if we know the present situation well, then definitely we can, understand the future. So which I mentioned earlier, that if I run with a knife versus if I run with a rose, the two things are different. So based on this, so if I run with a knife, so the intelligent systems or robot should do something and put alarm and so on. But if I run with a flower, maybe it will be different and better. So these are important things. So but it's not so easy. But young researchers can look into those issues, that how far the works have been done, especially fall prediction, not detection. I fall down, then you come, oh, you fall down. No, can you predict before I fall down? So sensor based approach can be very useful. On that case, vision cannot be that much useful. Yeah. And a list of challenges like dynamic environment, cluttered scenes, too much variabilities for any specific action or interactions, and so many other things I just skipped to give some examples. So cooking activity, for example, it was a challenge last year in ABC conference. It will be held this year as well. You are welcome to submit papers called International Conference on Activity and Behavior Computing. So if you are working on that domain, please knock me after the conference or search and get. So cooking activity recognition challenge. Now you can say that why do I need cooking activities? Because we can cook, but the purpose is that cognitive health or living ability to monitor the nutrition of elderly person. So for example, if I have a camera, maybe I put my camera is on. Okay, so if I have a camera on my glass, then my glass can see and it can monitor my cooking activity and so on. So it can help me, judge me, and this kind of things. Not today, but sometimes in the future. And especially it can remind me some missing step. But the problem is that the data is imbalanced. Imbalanced means some actions are much more, some actions are much less. It's natural. So when you submit a paper and have imbalanced data, I find that most of the young researchers, they say that, oh, it was tough because imbalanced data. But in reality, if you data is real, most of the cases you will find it that imbalanced data, like data, some classes are more, like in hospital, I have size, like in some hospital, some, I mean, nurse cares. So some activities are much more, I mean, more frequently done. So number of cases are more, some are very less, and so on. So this was done based on some motion capture. I mean, you can see that on different points, sensors are there and so on. So I can show you that, for example, this is two actions, and you can see the dots are basically joint points, body joint points from the um, uh, sensors or motion capture system and so on. So you have these data like body joint points. This is just for visualization. And then based on this, you try to understand different actions. Another one is nurse care activity recognition challenge. So we participated last year and this year as well. So this year we have 3 teams, and last year we had 3 teams. We won 2 second and third. This year we still don't know, because the UbiComp, ACM UbiComp, which is the #1 conference on ubiquitous computing, people say, will be held next year's, I mean, sorry, in September. So, but the point is that, I mean, you can see that real life data is difficult, missing data, class imbalance problem, and some actions are very short. And when it comes to and human error as well. Now, the point is that when you have NARS data, so nurses are working on many different things. As I mentioned, that some classes are so frequently done, but some actions by the nurses with the patients are very rarely done. So you can have huge class imbalance problem. How to deal this kind of things, and missing data as well. Missing data means you do not have data recorded. So how to deal this kind of things, or maybe you are the nurse is out of the network a bit farther, and data was not collected from the sensors to the server. So these kind of things are challenging. So that's why real life data is always difficult. So if you want to do research, see whether the work has been done with artificial data or lab control data versus whether real life data, and try to collect the real life data. But again, look at the state of the arts, I mean, great works, good works, recent works, whether there are any good amount of data available or not for you, and so on. So don't jump quickly to create a new data set unless, of course you can do, but check that whether there is any related NARS and others, not so much. So you can go. Gait, I mentioned that gait-based biometrics at a distance is very important. Iris or face recognition or gait or walking pattern, you can do. These are called biometrics by which we can understand a person. Now, gait has a benefit that when I need face recognition, I should be closer to the camera. But for gait, I can be farther and walking anywhere, and it has huge impact and importance as well. There are, I guess thousands of papers, and recently the booming because of deep learning and video-based data. Gait has another very important applications, which I mentioned earlier, that sensor-based medical rehabilitation applications. So you can work on that area. The now normal walking pattern is okay, but clothing, when I wear shari, not me, but lungi for example, or trousers or something, then you cannot even see the locations of my walking patterns on something like this. So and view angles or carried objects or occlusions, so these are very, very difficult. So occlusions are less explored. For that purpose, in our lab, one of the excellent researchers from our lab, Dr. Jashimuddin, he's now in Rokia University of Science and Technology, or whatever you call it, but Rokia University. So he did this work, and what he tried that, we do not have real data, no large scale gate data set with occlusion. So what to do? He found a good way to introduce a occlusion based data set. So this is another idea of what you can do, like go for different kinds of occlusion patterns. Occlusion patterns can be like, partially one part is blocked, upper, lower, sideways, and random, and so on. And based on this, you can have many different kinds of patterns of data. So if you do not have data, or if you do not have difficult or challenging data, do it artificially, create artificially, so that you can start something. Because if I say that, okay, 10,000 people, big data set I need with occlusions, it is very difficult to make the data set. You need lots of people and lots of time and money as well. It's not easy. Definitely real life data will not be same as artificial data. Artificial data will be easier, but he took this challenge and did a very good job. Another point is that when you work, you need to run on different experimental settings and compare with different state-of-the-art methods. This is also important. Yes, sometimes top methods are difficult, and maybe my work or your work cannot be comparable with that method. But researchers, what they do, they find some methods which are comparable, and they mention those, and others they hide. In research, it's not good, but for publications people do. So even though it's bad, but people do, because if you show that there are 3 methods better than you, reviewers, without understanding the importance of this method, they can reject it, which is very sad. So I personally in favor of a method which is a new one, and it has something good. So even if your result is not good with the state of the art, at least you try to mention what beauty your method has. Sensor based, I mentioned gait recognition, not so much. So this is sensor based gait recognition data set done in our lab, in basically in Tokyo Museum, by different people, and number of people you can see huge amount. Considering sensor based, it's a very good number. And for the test data, they put the locations of the sensors in different locations and different settings. And we tried in a international conference on biometrics. Over there, we found different methods, but one thing, deep learning is going on all over the world, but definitely it's not the #1 choice for most all cases. Yes, in image and vision domain, without deep learning, it becomes almost impossible in most of the cases, especially in big data sets. But other cases, sensor based or skeleton, still, handcrafted features can be suitable, or both. It depends on the data set you are using. So don't blindly just decide to go for, deep learning or handcrafted. Check properly whether your required information can be extracted based on simple, classical approaches or handcrafted features, and so on. Now, we tried with I will show some results and the works very quickly. That sensor-based human activity recognition, there are lots of scopes to work on. We introduced a new data set with the collaboration, of the University of Tokyo at our University of Dhaka before. But we had 3 falls, but it was not that good, but still it's okay. Now the point is that, do we need new data set? I said yes or no. It depends whether your dataset will introduce something new. So in our case, we introduced some special IoT sensors and so on. So that was the main goal. And finally, and another is just recently, another group of my students with Professor Musabbir from our department in Bangladesh, we introduced another data set. Why? Because there are lots of data sets on sound, but we found that emotional sounds from large crowd events like sports or a concert or some event, there is none. So that's why we introduced a new data set. It will come soon. So hopefully researchers can explore this data set. So if you find that something new and addition, then that can be useful. I mentioned that sensor-based activity recognition can be important to understand the locomotion or transportation, like what kind of vehicles you are on, what kind of modes, like bus or car or train or subway and so on. And that data set have different sensors like accelerometer, gyroscope, magnetometer, and pressure sensors and so on. This year, they introduced Wi-Fi and other information as well. So we have been participating since 2018 in this challenge. It is held with the ACM UBComp conference, and luckily first year we got an award, one of the top awards. So since then we have been participating, and this year we have 3 teams. I don't know whether we'll win again or not. Our main challenge is that the data set is very complex as well as very large considering sensor based. So deep learning based methods are mostly winning, and there are few teams who are excellent and always participating, and we cannot defeat them. So but again, this kind of transportation or locomotion data sets, SHL, there is another one recently. You can search this paper. I think we published in pattern recognition letters. Yes, pattern recognition letters this year. So you can find this in my website as well. I think it's also, I'm not sure whether it's open access, but if you Google, you can get. So the point is that we have introduced, a new method for, decipher, to decipher this kind of things. So another area is that normally all the data sets are just like our relationship or information before the marriage. Before the marriage, the matchmaker gives you lots of good information about the boy or girl, and everything is sweet and cute and so romantic. But after the marriage, we find that lots of gaps and missing points. Okay. Similarly, data sets have this point. Like when we make a data set, our battery is full, network is perfect, data transfer is, optimal. So we don't have missing data or, no problem or no noise. But in real life, it is the case, which I mentioned for nursing care activities, that if the nurse is out of the network or far from the system or access point, maybe data was not transferring properly. So there is a missing data. So that, and many other cases. So that's why we artificially created some random missing data and tried something and published. So the core point here is not our work. The core point is that change data, make it more realistic and try. Another work in our lab in Osaka University, wellness monitoring, and with the Osaka University Hospital while running, we have been trying with treadmills. The purpose is that we have treadmills we buy and we use it for, to dry, clothes. Sometimes I saw in some cases that they never use the treadmill, but again, use it, number one. Number two, if you don't use it, you send me to my home, I'll use it. Number three is that whether my running on the treadmill is healthy or not. How can I know? Maybe I have an accident or I have a disease and I can return and I'm trying on the treadmill, but maybe my body pattern or running pattern is not running, because I'm not a sportsman or an athlete that somebody will look at me. We can see that Saqib Al Hasan, for example, the world's number one, I mean, one of the number one players, cricket players since long. He has lots of money. He has lots of supports. I mean, doctors and everything to check. But what about an average player or average human being like me? How can I know that my running pattern is okay or not? Now, if you have a treadmill with some sensors or some cameras around the system, and it can collect some data and give you some feedback, that will be very important. We have been collaborating with hospitals, Osaka University hospitals, and another, I mean, company. But this work has, I mean, very much trouble because we cannot find easily any reason and so on. So here you can work also. It doesn't need huge amount of data, but analyzing the data and finding normal versus abnormal or medium, this kind of, or professional. So we have, I mean, maybe someone who own some medals in the past, like professional, I mean, runner, as one of the team members, so that he can judge the walking properly or not, and we have doctors and so on. So that's why collaborations are important. Otherwise you will publish in a place nobody will care, because they will not trust the work that much. So that's why, I mean, it is also important thing. Gait disorder detection, which I mentioned, that if my gait or walking pattern is not good, then can we understand beforehand? So that's why it is important. But again, not easy to make a data set. So you can do it, like find 20 chikungunya patients if they have any walking problem, or find someone, like go to a hospital where, I mean, they have walking patterns problem, maybe accidents and so on. So there are a few data sets. So we explored 2 data sets and tried. So bottom line is that try on normal and abnormal cases and see how you can go for it. Another very important work with NEC, but unfortunately the data set so strong and good because of real patients and very professionally done, based on skeleton data, but because of privacy we cannot open it. But I can give you some idea that, I mean, go to a rehabilitation hospital and collaboration with them. Doctors are checking those patients and give some scores. There are some medical scores like SIRS or BBS and so on, officially medical terms. Learn those. And then only from few minutes actions, or walking and raising hand, or raising knees or something, doctors judge, or I mean therapists judge the level, or give some score. Based on this the treatment is goes and so on. Can we do it automatically? And it's not that much difficult, I guarantee you. It's not that much difficult, because you have only few actions. So a small amount of data is enough. Small actions, so number of classes are not so huge. You can go for basic skeleton based body joint points analysis, which is not that much difficult. Yes, there is a difficulty, is that if I raise my hand like this way and another hand little bit more, there is a subtle difference. Not subtle, I mean, there is a very minute difference. So minor differences are very difficult to decipher. But again, you can do some work, and that can be very useful. And even if the work is a significant level improvement, a mobile phone can be good enough to do this kind of analysis, because the say the mobile phone is taking the video, and then it will process inside and just give some score. Based on this, from home someone can get some data. It can be useful for other diseases like Alzheimer's and others. So I mean, I wish I can try to do some more, but I'm just telling that this is so far. How to study the progress of the gait, for example, action quality. So another student, he's working on that. I cannot speak too much because of confidential issues. So scoring is important without visiting therapists frequently, but RGB based is difficult because of privacy, and also getting very minute difference is very difficult. Skeleton based can be. No sensors, because this kind of patient sensors are discomfort issue. But you can try with some sensors so which are not so much discomfort or location. Remember, location of the sensors and the orientations, like my mobile phone is like this way or this way, there are differences. So that's why, but you can solve it. There are mechanisms and so on. So extremely difficult because very slow progress, minor differences, but great scope to work. So you can work on that. I just give you just one example where from here you can see that this person, non-expert subject, just doing simple exercise. You see, this is from Kinect sensor, so you can get the depth image and or corresponding skeleton data, and you can see different kinds of, angles and so on. But if you look at here, that you can see that the person has Parkinson's disease, and he or she cannot do properly. So how can you differentiate the information from one to another? So this is a chemo database already there, and it is a very rare data set where real patients are there and lots of people, maybe 78 or something. And recently we published 2 papers and more are on the card. So we can go for it, and very crucial for the future, and more automation for the analysis of patients. Healthcare facilities, we did some work as well in real hospital analysis. Elderly person monitoring system, which I raised a bit in our lab. So hospital rehabilitation, elderly support need collaborations with doctors and clinics, and this is very important and not that much difficult to do. Yes, in Japan, they do extremely professionally and it can be very expensive and so on, but in developing countries, poor countries, we consider simple progress. Okay, I will go for it. That's the point. Because of the need is high. There are lots of poor people. They don't have anything. So if we can have very simple system and we can ignore camera, that's the number one bottom line, because of our privacy and security issues and misuse of data, which is extremely difficult. And also, more religious people and traditional people, they will be very much worried about privacy issues. And really, it is an issue. So that's why make sure that your work for developing countries, elderly person monitoring system should be based on sensors. Now, sensors can be on your body or on the bed, around the bed, or on inside the room. Like someone is entering the room, so you can get data. Going inside the toilet, so you can get data. Just simple PIR sensor can be useful, or other sensors. And the most important thing is the connectivity among each other, so that they can talk each other. They should always look at each other and talk each other, and give those kind of information can give you some final decision overall. And I mentioned more people, aged people are in the world, and that's why we need uh, automations and so on. uh, Fall detection I mentioned, and I told my students hardship and this paper is okay. And contactless I mentioned about video, but can we use radar or Wi-Fi or anything more? But one of my colleagues, he just finished his PhD from Hawaii, University of Hawaii, under 2 IEEE fellows, great professors, Sheikh Mahmoudul. So Mahmoud, he did excellent works using Wi-Fi and radar, mainly radar, for different kinds of, vital signs and others. So he can also contribute, and if someone is interested, you can work with him as well. And contactless human activity analysis, this book just published early this year in Springer. So you can find some interesting areas of work from this book. Hearable devices, like I have this one, right? So if I have a wireless device inside the ear, and nothing else, so it has some Bluetooth a capacity and some sensors, like speaker and sensors like IMU sensors, accelerometer, gyroscope, microphone, and so on. So it can be used for listening music, anything or whatever. But at the same time, the movement of my muscles or jaws can give me some sensor movement, like when I talk, and if I talk too much like now, or too high, or I don't talk at all, for example. So these kind of sensors movement can give me some information of about eating behavior, swallowing, because some people when they try to swallow they can't do it, or socialization through speaking communication, especially those who have these disorders and so on. So these kind of things can be done easily. So I mean, with collaboration, some of our students, they did with this with Nokia Bell Labs and in Japan, and then we have developed one apps. Through this process we collect the data and go for machine learning and so on. But the most important point is that this wearable device, there can be similar kind of others, and you don't need big data for this case. You can do it, but you need something smart, and you can consider something which is very difficult to get, like eating habit, understanding, swallowing, or just I mean communication and so on. Like this autism study is important. So we introduced a Tobii eye tracker. This is another collaborative work with Osaka Prefecture University. So we tried something, but the point is that it was not great. But autism detection and assistance, it can be important. Nowadays it is extremely important, because many kids who are with autism, they can go to the school globally, so they are staying at home, and parents are not smart enough to deal and they're, I mean, it's very difficult. I mean, those who have this kind of situations, you know that how difficult it is. So we need to help them, we need to find solutions for them. How can we do this? Can we make some kind of gamifications, games, to make them enjoyable based on their eye tracking capability and so many other things? So there are many things we can do. So the eye tracker is here, for example, not on the body, so kids can look at. So any kind of online support or follow-up treatment for those, I mean, analysis and so on, these are the important things. Recently one paper, I mean, just this month, this paper is published. You can find it, I think, a review on automated detection of autism spectrum disorder in a good journal. So you can find this paper, and hopefully you can get some kind of guidelines to work on that. I mean, last year we published a paper in a good journal like IEEE transaction of HMS of IEEE SMC. But you see, I tell you that this is also from Bangladeshi works. Most of the works I am mentioning from Bangladesh. So what we did, basically implemented different kinds of existing systems. So it's not that, I mean, the work is difficult. If you see the I mean, if you work a little bit, then you can see that, I mean, most of the things individually you did somewhere. But can we incorporate this totally? But the most important part is that we are trying to make a visual aid for whom? Blind people. Now, when we do the result and analysis, are we engaging the blind people? If you don't do that, then basically it's not working. So that's why it's important that we need to work on real people for whom you are trying to make the system. But of course, beforehand, you need the proper approval and I mean, ethical clearance and so on. If you need more information, I'm talking this point again and again, that sometimes we have different kinds of data sets. I know, especially in Bangla, language processing and others, but because of, I mean, legal bindings or copyright issues or others, or privacy issues in other cases, people cannot share. So if you have it with permissions, with a proper approval, then it is okay. Now, tiredness or sleepiness measurement. This work with University of Hyogo and Glory Limited. I know some of you are already tired. We tried. This guy is now in America. Brilliant guy, but he could not do much about this because it's a very difficult thing. Now you see that in Japan there is a society called fatigue society. Do you understand fatigue society? Another society is a working pattern, how good working, as this kind of thing. Why? Because they have related researchers so that they can judge and understand, because fatigue is important. If a nation is quickly tired, then this is not a good nation. So how to find solutions for them. Or if I become tired quickly, so do you want to give me promotions or give me overtime? So not only that, there are many other issues. So we tried, but not good result. And we tried few other things. So mental health, huge scopes to works for student and worker. I mentioned skeleton based. I mentioned it again and again that it is not difficult. And recently we published in pattern recognition letters and 2 papers on skeleton based. No, 1 paper for skeleton based, but we tried on a small data set, not big. But as we tried on 5 benchmarks, so reviewers considered it better. So, but the future is recognition only? Answer should be no. So what I recommend that vision based methods, it has lots of progress and different advancement in new directions. Can we incorporate skeleton based data or sensor based data towards that video based target? So that can be a point, and it's not that much difficult because each point can be considered as an accelerometer and or another sensor, or you can just get the angles from a points and get the different kinds of locations or distances or angles or vectors. Different researchers did different ways, and you can try of your own as well. So based on these, I mean, you can do something. So we tried. So with that, I'd like to conclude that action or activity or any other things, video or sensors, these are very important. Multimodality is important. Healthcare is important. Recognition, classification, prediction, the future, evaluation, scoring, quality of an action, these are important. New researchers should look into many things. Should I go through this? Okay, I think I should. So single person or multi-person, single camera versus multi-camera or sensors, indoor versus outdoor, fixed camera versus moving camera, everything. So versus means totally different domain. I mean, not totally, but I mean, significantly, I mean, different things. So you need to decide, and based on this, you need to see what are the best works so far, and then you try. So again, I say that select a topic where you can work. Health applications are important. Don't jump on a topic without knowing its reality, and go for midterm or long-term knowledge-based realistic plans. Don't keep doing easy things always. Don't run for publications only. Think and find a solution. Even if it produces bad results, try for a new knowledge, and I request the teachers to help them and to allow them. Publications is not only the point. If someone has new thinking, that may ignite something beautiful in the future. We never know. So uh, that's why, I mean, we must need to know what are the best work so far and must work the hardest, and spend money too for research and education. Have patience, passion for work. So I welcome you all to the third ABC, which will be held. It was planned, oh, not Japan. It will be online now, most likely. So you can submit paper if you are working on activity and behavior computing and so on. So we need to work more, and no work is small. And even if a paper is rejected in a conference or journal, don't feel dejected if it is rejected. And no question is silly. So always try to share in a conference or in a discussion. With that, I welcome you all to attend these 2 conferences. Will be held in, I mean, after 2 weeks in August 16 to 19 in Japan, but basically online now. So after 1 week, you visit the website to see how to do the free registrations. Especially my target is for developing countries, so that you can learn from top papers, from some top speakers as well, and so that you can participate and so on. And this is the ABC conference, activity and behavior, and so on. So I cordially thank my country, Bangladesh, and of course Japan, where I have been working. I mean, even though I finished my PhD and then I returned, and then postdoc, and then I returned, but I visited Japan every year, many times for research collaborations. And finally, last 3 years, I am at Osaka University. So some of my naughty friends, they told me a few times that maybe I have someone special in Japan. That's why I visit Japan every year, but I had none. So anyway, so I'd like to show my gratitude to my students who sincerely worked very hard, and Dhaka University, Osaka University, Kyushu Institute of Technology, Osaka University Hospital, NEC, Kitahara Rehabilitation Hospital, Nokia Bell Labs, University of Hyogo, Osaka Prefecture University, and Glory Limited. About my works, you can visit ahadvisionlab.com. Over there, you can see my papers and books, so you can click and find a bit more. I think I can conclude here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful talk on computer vision research and IoT. Sir, I'm seeing a few questions at chat box. Now,
Oh.
I would like to read them one by one.
It's better I can
And
read. So,
dear participants,
oh, so many questions. Inna lillah. So I need more time, I guess.
yes, sir.
Okay. One thing. Can we take just 5 minutes break? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Sure, sir.
Okay, so if we take 5 minutes break or 3 minutes breaks, I also need to drink something. Then I'll come back. So meanwhile, everybody, you also take some drinks. And hopefully we can have good time soon. So I'll be back soon, just a few minutes. Let me, it's very difficult. The first question is, anyone non-Bangla speaker here still?
Sir, can I read them one by one?
No, I can I can read, so it will be easier. So that I can quickly go through. So yeah, the first question is, okay, can we have the module to study deeply? Which module, Ahmed? You mentioned this question. Maybe he's not here. So what is the next question? Got some amazing, no. Question is, what are the tech programming language, software analytical tools, etc. should one learn to start working in this field? And where to find data sets? Okay, very good question. Number one, nowadays Python is extremely used by researchers. In GitHub you can get lots of materials. Python is excellent for Google Colab, where you can run if your laptop or PC is not sufficient. And when you work, you can find other analytical tools easily. So I think that you can go for Python and just learn how to deal machine learning and how to deal data. Now, if you consider video, then it will be one domain or image. But if you consider a skeleton or sensor data, so you basically need CSV files or text files and different. So it will not be that much difficult. Regarding data sets, I mean, you will find lots of data sets. So one good option is that to look into I mean, good survey papers. Good survey papers means topmost survey papers by top researchers in these domains. You may not know who are the top, but at least you know which journal or conferences are very good and top level. Then you see that what they mentioned in those review papers. That can, I mean, guide you. So this is another point. May we get your profile link once again, please? Okay, profile means, okay, you can search my name, you can get my website, but another is Ahad Vision Lab. Oh, it's in the slide. So you can see ahadvisionlab.com. So over there, you can see my
I
list of
actually got
papers.
that one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can we get free data sets? Yes, there are many, most of the data sets are free. So which I mentioned, all are free, or most of them are free. So if you have any demand on any specific areas and you searched and you cannot find free data sets, then you can email me, and if I know, then I can specifically tell you that, okay, those data sets you can explore and so on. This is another point. Uh, mm, my books, hard copies, especially the IoT activity recognition, this is, I mean, from Springer, and I don't know whether Springer has a good marketing policy in Bangladesh. So if you have money, you can buy from Amazon or online, but it will be $120, $30. So I recommend that if you do not have money, then you try online. If you have money, definitely you buy. If you buy, then I'll get some percentage for this. That's good. So welcome to buy. Can we get also the link of all your works and books for the references? So my website, ahadvisionlab.com. How effective is self-made data sets for emotion detection? Good question. Actually, self-made data sets on emotion detection, I mentioned, I make it clear again, whether it is for mention or face, or I mean emotion or gait or whatever, you first search whether there are any existing data sets. Creating a new data set, no problem, you can do it, because those data sets are for Chinese people or maybe mostly American people. We know that face recognition, which has been used in different areas, and there is a legal suit that for the Black people, the face recognition method is not good. This is a news from CNN, as I recall. I mean, just a few months back. What happened that the method is running, but they cannot recognize the Black people or other colored people easily. So what will happen that wrong people are caught as a criminal because of face recognition. You see that how bad it is. So I mean, but still much progress has been done considering 20 years or 10 years back and now. So what you need to do, go for a data set if the data set can be something important for the community. And remember, when you make a data set, look at the number of people you have. If a data set, usually face recognition, now we have, I mean, millions of faces we need. So, and so on. So for emotion, I really don't know because this is not my core expertise. So you can look into the recent emotion data sets and what kind of emotion, because emotion can be many different, it can have many different aspects. Then you see whether, because the emotions of Bangladeshi or Indians will be totally different than I mean others and others and others. Like for example, uh, but definitely it depends on rural areas and the city life and educated people and simple people. I mean, emotions are totally different. I still cry when I watched old Bangla movie with my mother. I can easily see that some, I mean, tears. I am surprised that I am very strong guy. I guess even when my father died, I controlled and I didn't cry. So I'm talking about 26, 7 years back. And today, till now, if I see something and emotional, I mean, tears are there. So maybe eyes problem, I don't know. So that's why emotion data set, if you want to make something new, definitely it will be good, but make sure that it covers the standard domain, standard number of people and samples and backgrounds and everything. If you are, interested, we can discuss as well together sometimes. Uh, mm, okay, gait disorder. Okay, no problem. Nowadays, how to start computer vision research. Um, and tell some platform who related to CV research. Okay, actually computer vision is extremely good research area. If you want to work, you can look into one of my lectures where I mentioned only computer vision research topics. It is on the YouTube, so you can find, you can look at the ahadvisionlab.com and see some video lectures on the notes, and then find one of those, I hope. Or if you subscribe, then you can subscribe the channel, then you can find. But the point is that over there you will find the CVPR, computer vision and pattern recognition. This is the number one conference, you can say. Then ICCV and ECCV. Along with the conference, there are 50-60 different tutorials and workshops on smaller research domains. You see those research domains, just look at the titles and just pick one or two, and then click and see those works. If you find it interesting, then that can be your starting point. But make sure that you have enough resources to work on. If an area has the demand for a huge amount of data set, large capacity, and you need GPUs and others, and if you do not have Rasaluddin, then it's better not to look into those areas where it is difficult. Okay, so this is my another suggestion. I think it's very difficult to give you a focused area, but you can try. How can we be updated about the competitions launched in different conferences? That's a good point. Uh, hmm, uh, Actually, what you can do, you can look at the related top conferences like CVPR, or if you consider biometrics, then International Conference on Biometrics. But every 2 years, the International Conference on Biometrics and Joint Conference on Biometrics, BTAS, those two conferences are combined as IJCB, which is here. So human identification at a distance were there. Some of those I shared, but if you look at the top conferences, you will find that they have challenges, especially in CVPR conference and UBCOM or Census sensor-based top conferences and vision-based top conferences. Always there are some workshops along with some challenges, so you can take part. Like my students have been taking part especially in UBComp, not CVPR, because CVPR has image and vision-based. We don't have a CPU, GPUs, so we cannot work on those. Even human identification at a distance, we don't have anyone from Bangladesh participants, as I recall. And my students, they could not, because the data set is so huge, you can't run. But we tried on using Google Colab. We tried with UBCom based or our ABC, activity and behavior computing conference based challenges. And you'll be surprised that last couple of 3 years from Dhaka University, I should say all over Bangladesh, we got lots of awards. I mean, many awards we got, I mean, through this process. So yeah, that is very important. We tried. I need collab in this kind of research. Anyone? So I mean, maybe it's not for me. Behind another is for Minhajur Rahman. Behind computer vision and deep learning, there is a good level of mathematics. Exactly, you are right. I'm trying to get a decent level of mathematical intuitions to work on classical ... What is your advice on that? Can you recommend me some good resources and materials? Thank you so much. You can recommend me. I need as well, because when I studied on that time, I did not study mathematics well. Until now, I am extremely poor in math. And that's why I beg all of you to look into mathematics, linear algebra, geometry, and statistics, and learn and just learn and do the exercises as much as you can so that you can I mean get into those issues. Yes, different machine learning methods you cannot understand fully in a day, but when you have the basis you can go further. Now, can you recommend some good resources and materials? It's difficult, brother, because different books are made for different people. So you can just go to a library and look at the books you have, or Google first whether the books are available online. But I recommend that you buy books and you read the books, because online only always, or intern, or I mean screen always, it's not good for health or body. I mean, I have been talking for about 2 hours, and previously I had another meeting for 1.5 hours. So as when I took the few minutes break, I felt that my back was in pain because I have been sitting here for a longer period. So if I have a sensor, then actually I have one which gives me every 1 hour it vibrates, so that I can just do some movement and so on. But today I did not use this, so I don't do it. But my point is that you need mathematical foundation, and you can get from books. Read a book from one to end, anything you like, is based on your choice. Online materials, different lectures, there will be many, but I mean, I don't know, if you can follow some great lectures from MIT professors or others, you can find, I mean, linear algebra and others, I mean, and if you find a style and follow them, that is wonderful. uh, but book is important. So I have no, I mean, very good guideline in this regard at this moment. I have some materials, but I cannot recall all of those. Another questions from, okay, Sabir from IoT. Seems like sleeping monitoring has to deal with constant video feed. How to deal with this continuous huge amount of data? Are there data sets regarding that? The answer, as I know, is no. There is no data set, and basically, as I know, there is no. But basically, sleeping time, this kind of video data, even if it is based on video data, they do not keep the video data. They keep, when there is any abnormal situation, they keep that record only. So these kind of things. But again, regarding sleeping monitoring, there are different sensors. One can be the bed itself, because one of my students, she worked on I mean, she developed a new or some sort of, I mean, sleeping bed with something, but not high quality or not that good. But anyway, she tried. So during the time we studied, and then my collaborator from Kyushu Institute of Technology said that they bought, I mean, two Luna nuts, which is, I mean, very expensive. Near my bed, there is a sensor. Her name is Luna nuts. I don't know why. Very cute one stand. It can collect data, not video, but some sort of data. Some sensors can make. There are some pressure sensors, so it can make. So there are different kinds of sleeping monitoring systems, but it depends on non-on-body, I mean, how can I say, like uh, video based, I don't know whether there is anything like that. So, but I don't have enough work on sleeping monitoring, uh, so we can check. But if you consider that what I mentioned in our Osaka University lab, like what the elderly person monitoring overall system, over there we are covering different kinds of sensors. And during sleeping, like if you have too much movement, so we may consider something like this. You can find a few papers at the UBCom, ubiquitous computing, I mean UBCom conference, or Census, or Parcom, where as I recall, MIT, there is a presentation this last year from MIT or something, that they incorporated some kind of device that next to your bed there is, I mean, some sensors, and your body has some sensors, and this kind of connectivity and movement, this kind of study you can check, but not so much. Can we get certificates from this session? Usually not, but if you need, then you can ask to the organizers. Usually, I mean, these kind of lectures and certificates are not that much valuable, I think. So that's wonderful. And please feedback, as they said, so that you can comment. Is there any competitions going to be held this year in ABC conference? Yes, it is going on. This is called Bento Box Challenge. Like, so it's about a robot is taking food. Like you want to prepare a lunch box. It has a chicken fry and a kebab, and wow, I am talking about food now. I'm hungry. So then the robot will pick one item and put on the bento box. Bento is a Japanese word, like lunch box, or I mean whatever box, and then cover. So instead of people, human being, robots will do it. It's going on actually. So the purpose is that how accurate they can do this kind of thing. So using motion capture system, there are some data, because robot and there are human involved. uh, we extended the date. You can take part. You can look at the ABC conference and go for it, and take part of this challenge. It's very simple challenge, so I think it's not that much difficult, so I recommend that you take part. Say some scope about IoT security and IoT defense framework. Thank you so much. I have no work on IoT security or defense framework, so I am extremely sorry that I cannot comment on that much. But of course, IoT sensors are extremely versatile and huge hierarchy and varieties. Till to date, the security and defense framework, or I mean whatever we want to culture it, it's not, I mean, standardized that much and not so much robust. There are a few lectures, and I attended I mean keynote as well a couple of times, once or twice I guess, from a professor, Indian professor from Australia. He's a big guy, so he gave some points and another one. But you can find some good survey papers on this, I hope. So I'm sorry, I have no knowledge about this. Jahangir asked about the book, so I said that I cannot, I don't know whether the book is in Bangladesh or not. Okay. Tahmid said from Khulna University, I want to work as research assistant. I'm interested in IoT, IoT security, computer vision, incorporated IoT sensors. How can I get involved? I mean, wonderful. Do you mean to work with me, or work with Osaka University, or with someone else? Whatever. I mean, if you are interested to work on anything, you should knock the person, and hopefully, but when you knock a person, look into his recent works, whether your interest, the person's interests are, I mean, have some kind of uh, relationships. Based on this, there will be some kind of networking, and hopefully it will go through. For me, it's extremely difficult to nurture someone for a longer period, because I'm just it's difficult basically uh, to help more people, because I'm helping a few, or working with some researchers as well. I have some limitations, but if you are with an unknown people, I try to avoid, because I don't know the research ethics and commitment and other things. So I try to avoid. But if you involve with any of your teachers, and then we can discuss and have some kind of agreements to move on and have some meetings, I can do this kind of things. And hopefully through those processes, uh, we can have some long-term collaborations. At Osaka University, I brought some of my students before, and Osaka Prefecture Universities and others as well. But due to COVID, some of my good students could not come since last year. Like Sadman Shiraj was, I mean, almost okay to come, but when we agreed to take him, Corona started and the visa stopped, and then it's all gone. So in Japan, it's very difficult to travel at this moment for a short term, but remotely people can work. That's wonderful. I want to work as a research assistant, and my interest is in AI. Wonderful. Okay, good. This is Apurbo Chanchal. So the answer goes to you as well, the same. Another question, private direct message, so I'm not mentioning. Walaikum Assalam. Which type of mathematics and programming language are mostly used in IoT and automation? Good question. I'm sorry. Regarding IoT and automation, which one is good? I don't know. But even though I have been working on IoT devices, but my works are basically IoT data and for healthcare applications and others. So mostly my students are working on Python, a few of cases MATLAB. So Python is the #1 point. And uh, regarding mathematics, I mean, not so much rigorous mathematics are needed at this moment. Maybe they are good at machine learning or by now. So for your case, like go for linear algebra, geometry. These are important. And yeah, that's it. The recorded video, yes, it will be recorded and I will upload and they will upload as well. Okay, anyone else? Okay, how Maliha, how to find impactful conference names every year? Good question. Actually, impactful conference names, I tell you that IEEE organize conferences in different levels, ACM as well. Okay, Optical Society of America as well. So what happens that the conferences are based on technical co-sponsorship. There are thousands of conferences that IEEE gives a technical co-sponsorship. Another is co-sponsor, another is a sponsor. So when a conference is directly sponsored by IEEE society, not IEEE Bangladesh section, not IEEE India or Kolkata section, because they can start a conference and they can say we are the sponsor, no problem. I was the general chair of the first international conference on imaging, vision, and pattern recognition, which will be held after 2 weeks in Japan. So the first one we organized, and then IEEE Bangladesh section, they contacted me that they also want to be part of it, and then we made it. And it was said that IEEE Bangladesh section is the sponsor. So what happened that the conference name started with IEEE and then the conference name, but still it was the first conference and poor conference. Okay, so it doesn't matter that whether a conference name start with the IEEE. The most important point is that IEEE has some societies like IEEE Computer Society, IEEE Communication Society, or IEEE SMC. Those societies, they organize 1 or 2 conferences per year. Like for example, IEEE Computer Society organizes the CVPR, Computer Vision and Pattern Recognition, or ICCV. So 1 or 2 conferences like this. Those are the number one conferences in that domain. This is one point. ACM also organizes different conferences or gives technical. When you find a technical co-sponsorship, you need to judge based on the quality of the committee of that conference. You will find many call for papers, but my point is that whenever you find it, don't jump into this unless you find, if you find that the email is coming from staff, or if you find the committee has, you very difficult to find people in the committee, or the conference, organized by few people, and not many people are there, or committee is not good, you can judge. I have a lecture in my website as well, or in the YouTube, that how to find a good conference or good journal, and how to decipher from good or bad, maybe 10-15 minutes lecture, so you can find that as well, or something like this. So, or even very poor quality conference. I was invited as a keynote speaker in a conference, and I got money as well, honorarium, and very nice hotel and everything, but I was not happy. After going there, I found that it's a business conference, because 2 ladies came from China or Hong Kong, wherever they are, and 3 conferences are going on together, and basically 30, 40, 50 participants, and those participants are from different areas, and most of the papers are rubbish. But people came because the title of the conference was so pure. Like for example, activity and behavior computing. So if someone is working this on human activity or behavior, he or she can think, wow, this is the best conference I can join, because this is very much concentrated. Or if I mention that, okay, human activity conference on sensors, then it is more oriented. So I can feel that, oh, I have some works, why don't I submit paper there, something like this. So I was invited by a professor, and sometimes, and though they approached me, next year they want to arrange a conference, in another place, and to make me as a main contact person and general chair and invited and give some honorarium and so on. And I clearly declined because I found them, those are just purely, they just manage few people, and through them they organize the conference in university or some center, and then just make money through this process with no quality, nothing. And they have very professional stuff, just like some business journals. So make sure that, I mean, we avoid those things. uh, Muhammad wrote, can we get this session presentation slide in our mail? Thank you so much. I usually do not share this kind of slides because the video is there and you can get it online with lectures with more explanations. So I hope that that will help more. I hope that you won't mind. And okay. Jai wrote, I had a plan before to study the emotions of the students in a class, but I don't have an idea how to capture emotions. Since one of my teachers said that we cannot measure emotions by facial expression, please help now. Okay. Yes, emotion is extremely difficult. Your teacher was right. But there are all several hundred papers or maybe thousand. I have been attending the face and automatic face and gesture recognition conference. It is called AFGR. That conference has many works on emotion and face and others. It is one of the IEEE sponsored conferences and good one. So now the point is that facial expression, there is a Paul Ekman's coding system that when we talk or move, our muscles move. From here we can get some action units, and there are, I forgot, I mean there are 40 or 50, 48 or 42 different action units, and the combinations of different action units comprise some emotions like, I mean, happy or disgust or something. And there are basically a few numbers of basic emotions and few more. I mean, if you brought it based on those studies, there are, I mean, hundreds of works on different kinds of emotions, and even to understand someone is drunk, someone is lying, someone is tired, and so on. So that's why it is important. So you need to know exactly what you want to do, then search that topic, find related papers from good journals and good conferences, not from fake journals or fake conferences or business journals or business conference. Sometimes the journal's impact factor is high, or even Q1, but they publish 5,000-6,000 papers per year. Unbelievable. So try to avoid those things. IEEE, SCM, Springer Elsevier, there are better papers usually. The next one from direct message, so not mentioning the name. Can you please say something on research opportunity in developing optical sensors for IoT applications? Optical sensor, sorry, I have no idea. I cannot make on this. Sajjad, he wrote, can you recommend some low-cost hardware which will be better for running real-time video, motorbike detection, deep learning model using camera? If you know Raspberry Pi, then you work on that, and I have no knowledge. I'm sorry. If anyone, please answer him. Razaul Karim, I was hearing this in. Okay, he's leaving, so no problem. Sania Jahan, could you please kindly share some ideas where one can incorporate human actions in medical setting and any data set that might have focus on that? Human actions in medical setting. So some of the applications, I'm not clear exactly, but some of the applications I mentioned, or some of my works I mentioned, are related to medical setting and human actions. So maybe just let me go through the one of the slides where I mentioned about NEC project. So where we did like we are dealing with rehabilitation hospitals patients, direct patients. So that is with direct patients. We are dealing with, for example, blind people. So this is also medical related. We are dealing with autism, and this is also a bit different type, but you can consider for wearable device or this kind of devices, you can go for eating habit, swallowing, and others. Uh, mm, Yeah, and this is a real hospital environment. We put some sensors and so on. Uh, this is also rehabilitation, I mean, healthcare related or direct data. But so if you go into genuinely what problem you want to decipher, this one, I mentioned that hemiplegic patient, like stroke or others, you have some body parts and some problems, and some parts are, I mean, paralyzed. Then how to deal these kind of things, they based on vision or sensors or others. So I just tell you that you can consult with medical doctors, especially therapy related and others, and find some problems they are facing or how they are doing manually or by looking at the patients, and then discuss with them that whether those scores or those systems can be recorded and start some work. But definitely you need to Google to find related works and see how far the I mean works are there. Based on this, I mean, you can just find a way. So my recommendation is that you can do like that. Another question from direct, that Osaka University, how can anyone apply to Osaka University for research-based masters or PhD? You can find, I mean, lots of informations um, uh, regarding applying mixed scholarship and so on, but you need to find a supervisor first. What are the opportunities of Bangladeshi students and their requirements? I mean, requirements for scholarship, definitely good results. Some universities, they want IELTS or, I mean, TOEFL scores, no GRE. But if you do not have, you can just write a letter through your supervisor or university head, vice chancellor, or maybe dean, that our medium of instruction is in English, and every books and exams are held in English, so they will be happy with that. It's a competition for mixed scholarship. If the professor agrees that he will consider you as a student, then you can apply under him or her. Uh, if someone has good research background, so definitely it will help immensely. This is the point. Another question you mentioned, should we avoid regional sponsored conference like any IEEE sections or something? The answer is, of course not. You submit to regional conference, local conference in Bangladesh and others, definitely, so that you can share your ideas, you can learn and others. But if your work is better, that level, then you should submit to higher level conferences. Foreign anything is not good, always. Remember that. I mean, we have a habit that if we think that something is foreign, then it's good. It's not the case. So there are many bad conferences. In Bangladesh, we have, it's wonderful that we now have 10 to 12 international conferences. I mean, IEEE Bangladesh section or IEEE others and so on. And all conferences are maintaining the minimum standard. And you must submit papers if you have something to present over there. But if your work demands better place, then you look into much more difficult conferences. So far, our conferences in Bangladesh or India, as I can see, most of the conferences are genuinely easy, most of the conferences. So I recommend, if you have very good work, you take the challenge to top conferences. So what will happen that even if you get rejected, you may get some good feedback and learning. So that's the important point. But our conferences, the regional conferences organized by different groups, I mean, they are working so hard and we should salute them. I mean, IEEE Bangladesh section people or IEEE India's council or Malaysia and so on. So I think that, I mean, uh, you got my point. But another thing is that someone asked me many times that, how can I know my work is worthy? This is very difficult. Your supervisor should know if he or she is a reasonable researcher. But if he or she is not good researcher, then they even don't know, I mean, uh, what to do or whether the work is good or bad. So it's a dilemma, but definitely you can communicate with some researchers. Nowadays, it's very easy. But one very important point, do not share your full paper or full things before publishing. with anyone, number one. Number two, never publish in unknown or fake journals or some things, okay? Never do it. You must know which one is good or average. Minimum standard, which is very important. So there's an important point. Another private direct message. What about the ARM Cortex for AI algorithms and others? My point is that your questions and about FPGA for AI, if your work demands this kind of boards or any other sensors, you just go for it. Don't worry which one is good or bad. Remember, as you are, those who are attending this program today, it means that you are a young researcher. You'd want to go into and learn something in this domain. So if you have access of any kind of sensors, just go through it, try to learn. But again, don't try very naive things like line follow robot or something. Always, start with line follow robot, but after 3 days make the line follow robot beeline e chalano shuru kora. So it starts that it doesn't work on the line, and on different situation, different challenges. So this is the important point. And another point is that whether you are just copying, like in high school or in early university levels, we do different experiments in the labs like chemistry or physics and so, like Ohm's law. Everybody knows here, I think, Ohm's law. So Ohm's law is, if you do Ohm's law in whatever setting or whatever environment, you just learn how it works. It's not a research. So make sure that when you do research on anything, you try to base your work on good research work. So I have several lectures on research methodology and paper writing. So you can Google me, or if you visit my website, you can find. So research methodology over there, you can also find. So I hope that if you don't find, you can email me, I can give you the link. So over there, you can find that how to find a new research topic or new research area and so on. Okay. All right, so another question that actually I'm working on human actions, but unfortunately couldn't find any reliable large public data set focusing medical conditions. Okay, if you check my website, you will not find the medical conditions based public data set, because data sets are closed, but there are data sets. So I recommend that you look into, you search. If you don't find, you can email me or knock me in Facebook, focusing on what you'd search and what is your target. Then I'll discuss with some people or my friends, or if I know, then I'll try to share and recommend. Any of you who wants to contact with me regarding research on this kind of things or do some brainstorming for a short time, I will try to give you time, but I will not commit longer period, because it's very difficult to deal unknown people remotely for a longer period. But for short time, for a little bit clarity, if I can, or if if you have any interesting idea, I can. I love to have some brainstorming sessions. Hopefully, these kind of things are okay, but I cannot give much more time. I hope you understand my limitations. So I guess we don't have any more comments or questions. I addressed all the questions, I guess. If anything, so we can consider the last question from anyone. If not, I'd like to thank the organizer for having me, and it's a good opportunity to learn. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Sir, at this moment, I am requesting all of the participants and guests to turn on your camera. If you are comfortable enough to turn on your camera, please do it. We want to capture this moment as a memory for our organization. I am requesting my technical team to take a snapshot of Zoom pages, and please make a confirmation when it is done.
Oh, this is typical Bangladeshi or Indian style, or even Malaysia they do, but not in other places. It's fine. Yeah. Anyone else from I mean non-Bangla speaking? People left, many of them. So we can finish, or we need to stay longer?
Now I am asking our IEEE University of Rajshahi Student Branch Chair, Hussain MD Sabir, to share some of his thoughts with us.
Thank you, Amina Taraki. At first, I would like to thank you, our honorable speaker, MD Atiqur Rahman Ahad sir, PhD, Senior Member IEEE, Professor, University of Dhaka. Thank you for the highly inspiring time with us, sir. On behalf of my whole organizing team of IEEE University of Rajshahi Student Branch, we are paying our acknowledgement and humble gratitude for your incredible lecture and presentation. Thanks again, sir. And last but not the least, I want to thank you all, sorry for all coming today's session. Without your continued support, we would never be able to put on events like this. So thank you very much, everyone. Love it.
Thank you very much. Stay safe and always use mask. Of course, not at home, but when outsiders come, because it's really tough time. And all of you must try to use your time, whatever financial or mental situations you are in due to the COVID and other issues. I know that, I mean, many of have severe cases. And today, just before the talk, we had one meeting, and one guy from UK, he told me that his closest 5 family members died, including his own brother, one own sister, and all are younger, like 50 or 40, this range, and so on. So when he was saying, I was thinking that it's, I mean, unbelievable, and huge pressure for that family. So we are facing this trouble. So I hope that we must take care as much as possible so that we remain safe. And to overcome this, like when we are in war, what we need to do, we must give the best effort, superlative manner, so that we can overcome and do better and we can win. So try to do research. That's the core point, because research has good points that if there is any success, something new findings you can come up, whether it will help the people directly or not, it's not easy, because otherwise the world will have no problem, because researches have been going on and on and on. But most important point is that we will learn something better, and if we can publish something good in the long run, not average good, then that will lead us to a top place. Because I know my students with GRE 338 versus 308 or 7, and they went to very different levels, huge gaps in terms of university admissions, because one has good research, another, unfortunately, he could not commit that much, or he was not lucky to have good results, and so on. So GRE or CGPA is not the number one thing. So if you get a good scholarships, or multiple scholarships, then it will help you to reshape your life and your family and the future. But if you remain down, then you cannot change anything. Forget about anything. You cannot change yourself or your family. And so if you are depressed, if you are down, consult with others, take help from others, so that you can slowly overcome and gain energy. And nothing is impossible. If you are rusty, you can overcome by working very hard. That's the basic point. With that note, I thank you all, and I'm tired as well. Hopefully I'll drink something or eat something now, and see you again. Keep in touch. All the best. I'm leaving now, so bye bye.
Okay, sir. Now I am requesting our IEEE RAS University of Rajshahi SBC Chair, Bipin Shah, to share some of his thoughts and close the event.
Thank you, Amana, for giving me the floor again. I guess sir left already. So I'm talking to all of the participants. Thank you everyone for joining this event. And I would like to thank our operational team of IEEE Robotics and Automation Society, University of Russia, RUSBC. They worked hard a lot in past few days to make this event successful. And obviously, thanks to you. I hope you will be with us with our new upcoming session. And I would like to mention two things that there was an event last day from IEEE Power and Energy Society, University of Russia, SBC on higher study abroad in Japan. Someone asked about how they can apply for Japan universities. The video recording are available in IEEE University of Russia Student Batch YouTube channel as well as Power and Energy Society Facebook page. You may check out. And at this moment, we don't have any plan to certify the participant for this event. Thank you, everyone. Hope we'll see you in the next event. Thank you. So I am closing the event. Thank you, everyone, again.
Thank you.